mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad.
Well, welcome home, family.
Welcome home.
It's your mom and dad. Yes.
Oh,
Studio
my
audience
goodness.
roars, rip roaring.
Good morning, Lee.
Good morning,
Good
Lee.
morning.
Hello, hello.
Hello. I just got to say, for those not watching the YouTube, the drip today is immaculate.
Oh my God, Lee. Thank you so much.
You know, Jess got the corduroy pants and the denim jacket.
Thank
and Evan's got
you.
the
Oh my
corduroy
God.
jacket and the denim pants.
Whoa.
Wow.
Inverted love, baby.
Wow, I had no idea that we were connected on that deep of a level.
Well, now
Thank
I know
you,
what Lee likes because, you know, he kind of likes the monochromatic kind of earth tones because
Yeah.
that's what we're wearing today.
It's
not
true.
a lot of pattern, actually no pattern, earthy vibes. He has an earthy vibe today as well. Actually, we're all matching color-wise.
We
He's
are.
got an earthy green with like an earthy tan thing going on.
That means that we are kind of just in the same zone today, which we love to see. It means it's going to be a hot fire episode.
It means we're very earthy.
Lee always looks dope.
Lee's hair even matches.
I know. It's
His
fantastic.
hair kind of matches the pants and the hat. I mean,
The
it's
people
like
want to see Lee so bad.
You'll never
Lee,
see him.
When can we show you? One day will you allow us?
One day.
Lee is a man of mystery. And he likes
is a
it
man
that
of
way.
mystery. Speaking of a woman of mystery, an Instagram-less woman of mystery, last episode we had on my best friend for life, Katie, with no Instagram. If you haven't listened to that episode, please tune in. I have gotten so many messages from people since we dropped that episode Katie came in and she brought some hot fire dating techniques, tips, first date, meeting people, ideas. And I've gotten so many messages over the past, probably 72 hours of people saying, I used her tips over the weekend and either one, it was super successful, or two, it was successful because I had so much fun. So tune into that. But Lee, what were your thoughts on my best friend, Katie?
Dude, a lot of energy.
A lot of
And
energy.
a lot of, like, I don't know where she got the nickname, like Kate Ball.
Yeah.
But I feel like there was just a ball being tossed, like, in my direction.
It's
you know?
true. She
Yeah.
was
Like, kind of out of nowhere, but, oh, hey, like, you know.
Yeah.
she was throwing lobs
Yeah.
at you the entire time.
I'm just chilling behind the desk usually. You know, there's an occasional lob.
Right.
or-
Yeah.
And she's like, Lee,
Yeah, like,
why
I
are you
was
saying
on
that?
my toes a little bit.
Yeah, you couldn't be. You can't. That's the thing about Aunt Katie is you can't.
She makes
kick
you
back.
sweat
You
a
gotta be.
little
You gotta
bit.
be up front in your seat and ready to volley. That's for sure. But you all have to check out that episode.
She's kind of like a Tony Robbins of like talking to people at like a bar or like, you know what I mean? Like she's kind of the
is.
like, let me kind of, you know, break down why you should do this way and let me just not think about it. You know what I mean? If you need some serious advice out there to be out there, like she is it's a masterclass.
She's the Tony Robbins of a good time, and I don't
Yeah.
know what that means, but that's just
Tony, that's like if she had an Instagram, that would be her bio. The
Fun
Tony
fact.
Robbins of having a good time.
Fun fact, Katie and I years ago talked about starting a podcast together, and the title of the podcast was going to be Till Death Do Us Party, because we would have so much fun when we went out and we, maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Maybe
now
one
the
day.
Now someone's going to steal the name.
Because,
and so you gotta come
well,
up with
you
a new
know what?
name.
Then that's on you if you steal it. Then you hang that hangs over your head and guilty conscious for the rest of eternity. But yeah, so we had Katie on, and Katie was on right before we just got back from Stagecoach. We
Yeah.
are fresh. Daddy was working. Daddy had a work
Yeah.
trip, and he took the kids along.
Yeah.
He let
First of
us
all,
join.
it started as like, oh, I got some work to do out at Stagecoach. And then Jess was like, oh, maybe we should cruise. And like, oh, that sounds fun. Let's make it a thing. Turned into like a group of friends going. And then like, I think I was like kind of invited then. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole thing got
he got
reversed.
invited afterwards.
Where it was like, oh, Evan, you should come. And I was like, wait a second. Like I thought that this was my work trip. And that's kind of what happened. That's also a Katie move too, is like Katie will just come in and be like, oh, by the way, you're invited, Evan. I'm like, wait, what? This is my trip.
I'm doing the show. But we went with Katie Thurston, Aunt Katie, our dear friend Anthony. We had so much fun, and
Yeah.
people have been asking. Again, if you did not listen to the episode with Katie, you need to go back and listen to it. But Katie had a technique that she decided to try where she wrote in a bunch of Ember's unused Valentines. Half of them had her number in it and half of them said like, try again, sad face, all this. And she's like, I'm going to go up to guys, like some guys that I think are cute. I'll fan out the cards and they can pick and let fate decide if they get my number. And I'm here to report back, everyone, that it worked. It was successful.
Wow.
We had a great time with it. Katie got some texts. Now she's not doing anything with them.
Yeah, those
But
texts are in a graveyard, but
we had a fantastic time. And she still has a bunch left over that we will be using coming up actually this weekend.
this weekend.
Yeah.
Are you guys going out?
Yeah, you're coming with us.
Oh yeah, see, I was invited.
See,
yeah,
now he's part of it. He actually got invited. We felt bad and we're like, you can come with us to a Friday night jaunt around. We're going to have a good time.
Speaking of like being a dad, like I fell asleep early every night. Was that embarrassing for you?
No, but everyone kept asking me about it. You'd fall asleep in the middle of conversations. He falls asleep sitting up, his head on the table, on the couch, by the pool, everywhere, all day, every day. He was falling asleep and everyone would look at me and be like, is this normal for him? Is he doing okay? I'm like, yeah, I don't know what
It's like
to tell
when people
you.
get old, they just start sleeping all the time. That's kind of what was
He's
happening.
just falling asleep everywhere.
Well, yeah, and because here's the thing, I get tired at night. Okay, some of us are humans. These people don't get tired at night. It makes no sense.
Aren't you working all day in the desert?
You know what? Work is a loose term. Like I had some stuff to do at the shows, but I wasn't like really working. You know,
But it was very hot,
it was
so
warm.
it was very draining. It was like, 108 degrees outside.
Well, I have a question because I do this technique
Okay.
that I want to get into, but before we do it, let's take a pause.
Oh, yeah, got to take a quick pause. Okay. Family, listen, before we hit Stagecoach, I had to get some shopping done, actually. Some makeup, drinks, portable phone charger, etc. You know the drill. But I've been looking to also save money, but I was also shopping. So how does that work well, okay? The answer is Rakuten.
Rakuten is the smartest way to save money when you shop. When you shop with Rakuten, you can get cash back at over 3,500 stores across every single category, including fashion, beauty, electronics, home essentials, travel, dining, and so much more.
We are talking so many stores and brands, from Sephora, where I got my makeup, to Walmart, to Expedia, and so many more. You are already shopping. Why not save while you're doing it? Membership is free and it's easy to sign up, and Rakuten deposits your cash back directly into your PayPal account, or they can send you a check. They make it so simple. I use Rakuten all the time. I love it. Save a lot. Cashback rates change daily. See Rakuten.com for details. Go to Rakuten.com now or download the Rakuten app today. That's Rakuten, Rakuten.com. Okay, sorry. Continue.
So I do this thing that when it's late, I'm always the first one tired. Like always. So if we're out, whatever. But here's the thing. If you go out or you're having a barbecue or party, whatever, and then it kind of dwindles down to like 4 or 5 people. And then this is the classic move. Everyone's kind of around the like table or like island in your kitchen, right? That's kind of where like everything boils always down to, right?
Everything starts to kind of slow down or the conversation mellows out a little bit and everyone stands there for a while.
And so then, usually putting a couple dishes away or throwing some trash away, and then you kind of settle into the island hang. You know, it's the last of the survivors of the party or of the hang. My go-to move every time is I see it, I feel it coming, and I get really tired. And let's say it's 1 a.m. or something. Instead of saying, guys, love y'all, heading to sleep, I say I'm going to go to the bathroom and I never come back.
He disappears and everyone's like, is Evan doing okay in the bathroom?
Right.
It's been about 2 hours and he's still on the toilet.
Right. So I never come back. And that's my way of, I think they call it Irish exiting, I guess, right, is a way. Mm-hmm. But like, it's more about, I don't want to be the one responsible for killing the party. So if everyone's having a good time and someone goes, guys, I'm going to sleep, you might have 1 or 2 go, you know what, same, and then the party's over, and then you were responsible for it. Yeah,
you were responsible for ending the vibe.
Right.
Yeah, you slowed down the party vibes. You crashed the party.
But then one of the Katies told me, because I thought that was pretty noble of me.
One of the Katies.
One of the Katies. I thought
Katies.
I thought that was very noble of me, very selfless, is that she said that I should bring it up. There might be more than one people who want to get out of the situation and they're waiting for someone to signal it.
Which I also understand. I understand both sides of this. I feel like it's a tough call because when someone walks away from the party,
Sure.
it does, and says, I'm going to bed, it does typically go, everyone goes, I guess maybe we should wrap it up too.
Yeah.
And we should all go to sleep when you're having like an overnight hang or whatever. But at the same time too, I've been in so many circumstances where I'm like, I'm dying to go to bed, but I feel like I can't walk away right now.
Right.
Because everyone's talking and then I don't want to be that person. So it's like,
Right.
are you going to be the sacrificial lamb? What choice are you going to make? It's a tough one.
So I don't know, Lee, what do you think? You think it's a good move?
Yeah, I've never heard of that one before. The
You like
bathroom. All I'm thinking of is like if I needed to go to the bathroom and I'm like, man, Evan's still in there.
Oh,
Like, I can't go to the
interesting.
Yeah, there's a single bathroom in the house and you're like, oh my God, you're just drenched in sweat.
But you know what I have done before? Another move I do is I just walk away.
Yeah.
Like I literally just walk
That's
out
like
the
the
room.
full Irish. And then the bathroom move is like a half Irish.
But this is way more
Or
gnarly than
you just fall asleep with your face on the island. That's your other
that's
move.
if there's no hope. But the thing
that.
about the leaving the Irish exit is generally much more acceptable because it's like if there's 100 people and you walk
Right.
out, it's like, oh, Evan never said bye, whatever. But when you got 5 people staring at each other,
at you and they're going to look at you.
and then I just walk away, people just assume that I'm grabbing something.
Right.
So I like that. I think the move now is just to walk away without saying a word, because if I do say I'm going to use the restroom and you really got to pee, you're caught waiting, which is not very nice. So that's my new move.
All right. I'll accept that one. I mean, I know what you're doing every time
Yeah.
you do it. Every time he says, oh, I gotta go, I gotta do whatever, I'll be right back, whatever. I know he's going and laying down. Like I know the door is being closed and I will feel the vibrations of the snoring within the next 30 seconds.
Gosh, it's, you know what, guys? I apologize for that.
It's okay. But we had an amazing time.
Yes, we
We
did.
had so much fun. I was so proud of you. You crushed your work per usual. I love watching you work. I will report back as well. People were wondering, we talked with Instagram Liz Aunt Katie about that she needs to go on The Bachelor. And
Yeah.
everyone was like, yes, she does. She'd be so good on that show. Here to report back that numerous Bachelor people over the weekend convinced her not to go on the show.
Oh, no.
Which understandably so, they're like, it's not worth it. You just protect yourself. We've gone through it. And so they were talking her out of it. And I'm trying to be a good friend and be like, I also care about you and I don't want to see you,
Yeah.
in a tough situation. So what we decided, well, mostly what she decided over the weekend was she won't be auditioning for The Bachelor, but she is going to do everything she can to get on Vanderpump Rules. That's her new goal, is to get on Vanderpump Rules. And I said, how are you going
Don't you have to
get...
work at a restaurant to do that?
Oh, no, not anymore. Now you gotta
Oh.
date one of the people or be friends with one of the people. Or Lisa Vanderpump hires you
Yeah.
in some capacity or brings you in some capacity. And so I said, how are you going to get on Vanderpump Rules? And she said, well, you've had Lisa on the podcast before. When you guys get her on again, I'm coming with you or showing up. And I'm going to pretend to be working with you. She's like, and I'll try to charm the socks off of Lisa so that she'll want to get me on the show. And I said, well, it's a game plan and we can try it.
It's
or
a
we
game
start
plan.
showing up to where they're filming all the
Yeah.
time. And she'll just be in the back of every single scene, just like
Right.
with her
right.
Valentine's and see if eventually, because I know she's not looking to date any of the guys on the show.
Right. But you know what? This was all done without my consent.
Okay.
You guys talking about this and getting, told not to be on the show or whatever. This is something that we've been talking about, and we know enough people to where this is actually a possibility.
I know.
And I think that if we do enough therapy, maybe she won't be as damaged. Thoughts? Maybe we put her into some classes, some how to keep your brain strong while going, into the dangerous territories.
Well, we got to get her coached.
That's true.
We got to get her coached.
But the problem is now what we're doing and talking about this on the podcast is we're incriminating ourselves. And then also people can come back to this and be like, see, we shouldn't get her on the show because of this. So I guess we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot a little
Well,
bit.
I'm just telling you that she's made her decision. When Katie makes a decision,
It's
she's
not happening.
And we had a lot of Bachelor people saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do
Really?
it. Yeah.
Understandable.
So I have to support her. So now I'm supporting Vanderpump.
Okay.
We're going to get her on Vanderpump or on some Real Housewife, one of the Bravo, offshoots or something.
Okay, we just got to find like a billionaire she can date so she can get on that show, right?
I mean, I feel like Katie will be able to figure
I
that
think
one
that
out.
won't be a problem at all.
I think that's gonna
I'm sure
be-
she's already turned down many billionaires over the years.
I'm sure she
over the
has.
many nights out.
I'm sure she has. But regardless of whatever show she gets on, she needs to be coached.
Okay.
And the two best coaches of reality television, the experts of reality TV, Bachelor, Clues, and Pace Case of Game of Roses. Speaking of the two of them, we're covering the Love is Blind reunion today. The hell that was the Love is Blind reunion. We're finally wrapping up
You
Love
guys
is
sorry
Blind.
we're late to the game, but
We're late
here.
to the game. We finally did it. But after an amazing season, the season was so fantastic.
It really was good.
Such a good season. So many couples came out of it that they decide to put a hellish cherry on top of a delicious sundae with this horrible reunion. And so we're like, okay, how do we make such a terrible reunion episode? How do we give it a little bit of wonder and excitement? I'm like, we need to bring in Bachelor, Clues, and Pace Case so we can have some fun and break
True
this down.
professionals.
So guess what? They're here right now.
Let's do it.
Let's bring him in and break this baby down.
This turd sandwich of an episode down.
And we are officially here in studio with Bachelor, Clues, and Pace Case from Game of Roses.
Thank you.
You don't have an audience, so clap for yourselves.
Hello. Wow.
For all of us.
Thank you all.
Yeah,
Big,
thank you guys.
big studio audience.
Our faves are back. The panel, the experts, as we referred to when we did our
doctors.
the
Thank you.
doctors,
The
the
doctors.
cast bios,
Yes.
the symbiosis, the cold bones, the hot baths, the doctors.
Oh yeah, cold bone crew.
I literally took a scalding hot bath right before I came here.
And same. In fact, I actually paused the reunion halfway through to warm up my bones because
That's understandable.
it was
Oh
giving
my
me anxiety. So I
God.
really had to do a
The
deep
reunion froze your bones.
God, froze my soul for sure.
Yeah.
The look
It was
of
hard.
the look between Vanessa and Nick Lachey and the argument that I knew that they were going to get into after that reunion ended froze my bones.
I was watching their dynamic very carefully, and she was really talking a lot more than him.
She was, and there were, I think my counter got to 6 comments exchanged where they both talked about how horrendous marriage is and laughed in excess
Yeah.
between each other. And I'm like, oh, a fight's going to go down
Yeah.
as soon as this is done. I'm not sure what it will be, but it will be a fight.
But you got to think about like the circumstance they were put in. It's supposed to be this giant live Netflix thing, only the second live show Netflix has ever done. It gets delayed multiple hours. Everybody, they're already reading online. I mean, both the Lachey's, everybody on that stage knew what the reaction online was to it not coming on. People had canceled work plans the next day, thrown big parties for this. It was like a big event. And
Yeah.
all of these people across the country were getting fucked over by it.
Yeah, he
So-
was waiting.
Yeah, were you guys in the queue? Were you waiting?
Yes, and I never got to see it. I went to sleep that night and was like, fuck it. It was like 1 a.m, and I never got to get in. But other people were. That was another huge piece of the debacle. It's like some people got to watch it. Some people got to watch it starting halfway through. Other people didn't get to watch it at all. So all these spoilers start coming out, and it's like, I never even got to fucking watch it. So all that said, they know all this is going on, and then they're like, all right, and you're on. Yeah, right. Like, it's a stressful fucking thing for them to have to have done. And I think Nick Lachey honestly handled it very well. And just sitting there going, okay, hi, hey everybody. Okay.
He even got
And
a
it's like,
98
let her
degrees
talk.
reference.
Yeah,
He got a
exactly.
98 degrees
Yeah.
reference.
He was just doing straight teleprompter shit, and Vanessa Lachey seemed like she was trying to take it in some other directions and be
a
funny
lot
and
of
entertaining.
directions. A lot of
Many
directions.
directions.
Listen, trust and believe. The second that the episode started, I was thinking, listen, I can have some problems. I know, Pace Case, that you love your empathetic king, Jesse Palmer. I can have some thoughts on JP, but it did really make me admire Jesse Palmer's work.
I absolutely agree.
You know,
he looks like a shining star
really did.
in comparison, a charismatic, empathetic king.
Yeah.
He doesn't ask anyone about how close they are to having babies. He's
He
like,
would
I
never.
just got married. I'm like 100 years old.
Never. No, I mean, but when I was watching it, I was just like, holy shit, this is such a hard position. So with
Yeah,
all the pressure
it's
and
hard.
everything coming in, I was like, I can't imagine what it would be like. I would not want to do that. I don't think I would be capable of doing it and feeling relaxed. But the first 10 minutes, I was like, okay, we're warming up. But then, as you all say, bad job.
Yeah.
It just
totally.
the questions were not questioning. There had been so much time, and that was the thing. So you saw this whole cast that had been an entire year since all of this happened. So a lot of
That's
the
part of the problem.
Right. So a lot of the drama between all the castmates, like you've had time to process, you've fallen deeper in love, like you've processed through other life. They're like, I don't really care anymore. Let's let bygones be bygones. So what I'm thinking, I'm watching, I'm like, I want the host to ask all the questions that the audience is curious about, not so much what are your feelings currently with this person, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is weird because of that year delay. Again, the hour and a half delay. Also, you have to keep in mind, those people are all sitting in those chairs for an hour and a half.
I bet half of them left.
Exactly. And they're like, what the fuck even is this?
Yeah, it's
You also have this
I want to
weird...
watch that hour and a half of them like waiting.
That tape exists.
Oh my God, release.
That tape exists.
Release
The
the
waiting
tapes.
tapes.
Oh my God. Everyone's screaming at each other.
Yeah.
The stress is wild.
I mean, you even had Dark Lord Vanessa Lachey in the program said at one point, kind of under her breath, she asked some question and somebody was kind of like hesitant to answer. And she's like, oh, there must be a Love is Blind pact. Do you guys have a Love is Blind pact?
Yeah.
And it kind of alluded to the fact that even the producers now know these players will collectivize in that year and basically say, like, we have to go do this fucking reunion per our contract or they're going to fine us $50,000, but let's not say shit. And so that year gives them all time to get, like you're saying, get over their shit, become friends with each other. And then they sit on that stage and it's like, you're not getting anything out of them. They're going to stonewall you the whole time.
100% stonewalling. Like, well, we've buried the hatchet. Every single answer to every single question.
Oh, 1,000%. So, okay, let's take a quick turn. Let's get into what Love is Blind, the allegations with them with filming, and now numerous of the past contestants on the show are coming out and speaking out about how they were treated. What's currently happening right now?
The primary thing is Jeremy Hartwell and Nick Thompson from season 2 of Love is Blind have formed this organization called UCAN.
Yes.
That is meant to supply mental health services to players who are going into the show, on the show, and coming off the show. And not just Love is Blind. I believe they want to apply it to all reality TV.
And I think legal services too.
Legal services as well, yeah. And I think that that's kind of like the first step toward a reality TV performers union, essentially, which doesn't exist now. So all the allegations they're making, and Danielle Rule, too, who was engaged to Nick Thompson that season, she's come out in that Business Insider article and said all the different claims about how they withheld food and water from her and separated her and Nick Thompson at the episode where all the couples meet.
Didn't provide her mental health support when they asked for a therapist when she was having an active panic attack.
Right. And these allegations they seem fresh because it's coming from Love is Blind, which is only in season 4. But these allegations have existed in Bachelor for 23 years.
Right.
This is how these types of shows are made. And I think what Jeremy Hartwell and Nick Thompson are trying to do is to change that because it is unnecessary. I don't think it makes a better product. But I think the producer class of today's reality television misinterprets the idea of drama as misery. We have to make these people miserable. That will give us, in quotes, drama. And this is simply not true. But all that said, what you're not seeing is Kinetic filing counter lawsuits against any of these players or even cease and desist that we're aware of. Whereas Bachelor fucking drops the hammer on you immediately.
Interesting. Okay, so that's the difference because I've been wondering about some of these, like the current players coming out and posting receipts and posting, like Zach, for instance, posted on his Instagram, like, here's behind the scenes footage of me saying that the song that I said the song was Ludo and it wasn't an original.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering, I'm like, okay, how does that then work? So they're not...
The producers obviously gave him that footage.
Right.
Because they need to promote him as a hero player because he's in a successful relationship. So they give him the footage to contradict his own edit to make him look better than the original edit did.
Yeah.
But if you look at some villain players like Irina Solomonova, she ain't getting that fucking footage.
Jacquelina also is being told that she can't come to the reunion for mental health reasons, they said to her.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I saw that
But
because
the reason was they can't have her on a live set saying whatever she wants.
Yeah, because they
need
still
to
recorded
control
her.
what she says.
that's what I was going to say.
Lachey.
Because initially, of course, when I saw like the little clip of them in the Zoom, my, kickback reaction was like, they're pulling a Real Housewives thing where they don't want to show up because they don't want to get the heat, and they're dipping out and saying like, oh, we got sick or whatever, doing the classic Bravo, like, like throwing the towel in and just appearing via Zoom. And then seeing that it was pre-recorded and it wasn't even a live Zoom, then I was like, what's going on? And then, I ended up seeing that it was like, oh, they said that, Netflix didn't allow them to show up, and then they pre-recorded it. And
Yeah, that was one of the things that the live show really, I think, revealed about Love is Blind is the whatever degree of producer manipulation is involved in any of those players' lives in the show itself. You really saw it with Irina when she's asked point blank, you knew you didn't want to be with Zach. Why did you go to Mexico with him? And she was like, I didn't want to as soon as I saw him, but then I was convinced to go to Mexico. I was
she broke
convinced.
the fourth wall during that. Yeah,
totally.
yeah.
And a bunch of players, they were even like, you're really going to believe the edit? That phrase was used by, I believe, Kwame or maybe Zach. I forget who said it, but the live show in a situation like that where, again,
Bliss did.
Maybe it was Bliss, yeah. But it really allows those players to just deconstruct how the show is made. And I don't think the producers like that. And it really, to me, spoke to a kind of ignorance or maybe like a naivete that these Love is Blind producers have about how this shit is made. Bachelor producers, But when you walk out onto like a Women Tell All or an After the Final Rose, which are taped live, by the way, not aired live, so they get a little bit of leeway to do edits. They can disappear like Heather Martin completely from a show if they want.
Right.
But those players are coached by producers like to the fucking letter. Bachelor producers give them scripts in some cases and say, read these exact words, make this exact attack against this player, and we'll bring you to paradise. And then they don't bring you to paradise. They will fucking lie to the players, but they get them to do what they want every time. These Love is Blind producers didn't do that very clearly.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Why do you think that they chose to even dabble into the live?
I think it was a big like promotional thing. And this season of Love is Blind, it was the biggest one ever. I think it really established Love is Blind as the kind of preeminent, premier reality dating show. It has taken Bachelor's spot for sure.
The season was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a brilliant season.
Incredible.
Absolutely.
So now it's taking over.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's why they were going to do the live. They were going to be like, fuck it. Let's blow this out of the water. Let's put on a show unlike anybody has ever seen. And this was just some executive at Netflix's idea. We're going to do this live. It'll be amazing. And then obviously they had some difficulties.
Chad and I have argued about the value of the live. I see no value in it. I'm like, tape it live, sure, but edit it. I mean, they record like 9 hours for the Housewives reunions live, and then they edit it, and you only get the most interesting stuff. For me, I'm like, you can air it and be like, the drop is at 8 p.m., so it's still getting that effect of like, you got to watch it at that time or it's going to be spoiled. But I don't even really know when The Bachelor is live or not. I'm just like, that element of it doesn't matter to me.
And see, I love no studio audience. That's my favorite.
Ooh.
The way that Bravo does the Real Housewives and all of that, because I feel like when there's a studio audience, the people sitting on the couches are feeling the pressure and all the eyes are on you. And I feel like you see people are more loose when there's not a studio audience.
You can't tell how people are reacting to what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It feels a lot more organic during the housewife reunions when they're sitting there and they're just with their castmates and their producers, and that feels like truly organic.
But not if you're
me.
Vanessa, because Vanessa liked the crowd. You could tell she was like performing.
Oh my
she'd do a lot of like, you know what I'm saying? And then look at everyone like, it was very performative. Versus like, if she didn't have the crowd, we wouldn't have got that. Because she was looking constantly out when she'd say something. She would be like, hey, Jess, you should do this. Right, guys? And you know what I mean? And so I kind of loved it.
Impression.
Because it did like create this character we saw
I
in
feel
her.
like she
100%.
should have had a t-shirt gun with like Love is Blind t-shirts, just like shooting it out into the audience, like, everybody come on.
Yeah, I'd love to see her on The Bachelor where it's like in the round and there's all sorts of, she's like, let me see it.
She'd be crawling around that stage by the
Yeah,
end.
and she just takes the mic and walks around with it. And just like, she's like trying to be a lead singer, you know?
I make a lot of memes about The Bachelor, different reality TV shows and stuff on my little Instagram account, Bachelor Clues. And I got to say, I have never done what I did in service of this reunion show. I went and I took the entire reunion and made, it's about a 1.5 minute meme of just all of Vanessa Lachey's faces, all of her looks into camera.
Yeah.
My God.
It was astounding. I've never seen anything quite like it. Her faceplay was off the charts.
Off the charts.
Shot
I
out of a
loved it.
cannon.
She's got to study Andy Cohen. That's how you should be. This dark void
Andy
where
Cohen
you're
is
like,
king.
they can ask the question and be like,
You're
Christina
looking
from
through
Tampa
them.
asked whatever. Not me. I don't have a personal opinion on this.
But I will say there was, because it was so bad and so
Yes.
disastrous after such a phenomenal season, there was something that added to the lore of it. Where you
Yes.
were like, everyone remember the reunion of 2023 Love is Blind season 4, like how horrible that was and how like none of our questions were answered and all of us were left so confused and befuddled that it was a little bit like, this is a timestamp. This is a
Yeah,
book.
do I remember the other reunion? I watched every season. Do I remember the reunions? Well,
Not at
some
all.
of them. I remember Shake being like, cut this out. And
Yeah, and then they put it in.
but this one, I will never forget it.
Never forget it. Okay, family, quick pause from this reunion breakdown. I want to make Mother's Day extra special for myself this year. So that's why I want you to get me Storyworth.
It's coming, baby.
For real though, Storyworth is truly the most unique, heartfelt gift. I've given it to numerous members of my family and it actually brought us closer together. It's an incredible gift.
Storyworth is an online service that helps you and your loved ones preserve precious memories and stories for years to come. Every week, Storyworth will email your loved one a thought-provoking question of your choice from their vast pool of options. These are questions you may never have had the chance to ask, like, if you could see the future, what would you want to find out? And then after 1 year, Storyworth will compile your loved one's stories, including photos, into a beautiful keepsake book that you'll be able to share and revisit for generations to come.
I'm telling you, the book is going to be amazing, but the journey getting there will also be a gift in and of itself. I know personally, hearing some of my mom's answers to the questions when I gave Storyworth as a gift to her, they brought us closer together. They made me love her more. I found out all these things that I had never had found out before in previous conversations. It truly is amazing. And I love knowing that we're going to have this book for forever and to pass on to our child Ember one day. It's so special. Give all the moms and mothering figures in your life a unique, heartfelt gift you'll all cherish for years. Storyworth. Right now, for a limited time, you'll save $10 on your first purchase when you go to storyworth.com/momdad. That's STORYWORTH.com/momdad to save $10 on your first purchase. Storyworth.com/momdad. Well, summer is on its way, which means all those special friends and family days are going to be happening outside. Have you been dreaming up ideas for your outdoor space and how to make the most of it? Well, then let us tell you about Article, our absolute favorite. We love Article. Article's curated catalog of outdoor furniture is incredible. They've got everything you need to really make things your own, from outdoor sofas to dining sets to decor. Gorgeous.
And Article's flexible range of styles mean you can do more with the space you've got. Their designs are amazing and their prices are equally amazing. And don't forget the top-notch quality. Our Article pieces are our favorite in our home and have stood the test of time in kids and dogs.
And all that comes with that. Their curated assortment of mid-century modern, coastal, industrial, Scandinavian, and boho designs make furniture shopping super simple. And Article offers fast, affordable shipping across the US and Canada. Plus, they won't leave you waiting around. You pick the delivery time and they'll send you updates every step of the way. I love this about Article. You're able to plan. It's amazing. And Article's knowledgeable customer care team is there when you need them to make sure your experience is smooth and stress-free. Article is offering our listeners $50 off your first purchase of $100 or more. To claim, visit article.com/momdad and the discount will be automatically applied at checkout. That's article.com/momdad for $50 off your first purchase of $100 or more.
I love all the Dark Lords. We're talking about Palmer. We're talking about DL, VL, DL, NL. And I like that
Dark
they each
Lord
have
Vanderpump.
they have their own styles. I like Vanessa Lachey's style. I know she got a lot of shit for all these weird face plays and going hard about the Love is Blind baby and all this shit. But like you're saying, it made this disaster so much more entertaining because I think most reality TV audiences, I believe, I consider myself to be this way as well. You want to see like compelling love stories happening, at least in the dating games. And you also want to have villains. You want to have people that you can actively be like, fuck that person.
Right.
This turned that person into the hosts of the show, which is essentially an extension of the show, of Netflix, of kinetic content. So in a weird way, it turned the villain became the people who are making the show. And I haven't really seen that in like on camera, on stage, right in your fucking face ever really in Bachelor.
So interesting.
The vibe that was weird. So I generally feel that way, like where I'm like more, weirdo shit and like kind of like, you know what I mean? Almost more evil. Like it's like not morally sound, but you're intrigued by it. You know what I mean? Like that creates like drama and things like that. But I was telling Jess, this one made me feel gross only because of this. I feel like I would have been much more interested in seeing Vanessa with the Bachelor franchise because during those reunions, they're a lot more like rowdy. People are yelling at each other across the thing. Right. People are talking to the crowd. It's back and forth. It's a little bit more like loose too. Like there's a couple serious moments, but then there's a lot of like, well, what are you going to do? Are you talking shit to me? It's a lot more like almost
Pour
Jerry
a vat of
Springer.
Sauce on someone.
Yeah.
Like bring out a costume.
Exactly.
Meatball rolling around in marinara.
There's a campy element where this one was like, the only person going off the rails was her. Yeah. So everyone else was kind of serious. And they're like, yeah, actually, we've gone through a lot and it's been hard, but we love each other very much. And the next person's like, yeah, like, for me, you could just tell that they're like, I want nothing to do with reality TV ever again. Yeah. Whereas then there's a lot of Bachelor people that are still like, oh, I can't wait to get to paradise. And there's like, so when Vanessa had all this like extreme energy, it felt bully-y because they were kind of sitting there just like, we have to be here. We're tired and kind of like traumatized by the event, and we somehow found love through this. Hey, how are you guys? And she's just like, right, guys? It almost just felt like
you're not gonna have a baby.
Yeah.
Oh my god, my most favorite part. Womp womp womp.
Oh my god, I just saw like no life in their eyes.
She should have had a soundboard with sound effects just to be pushing them.
Yeah, someone's like, my mental health's been back. She's like, bummer. You know what I mean? Like it was just very
so
like.
What was your first night together? Like, boy,
yeah. It was just like I felt you just see their eyes where there was like I feel like everyone was on the verge of tears.
My favorite moment was when when Vanessa decided to do a survey roundtable of the most inappropriate question, asking everyone if they were currently trying to have children. I almost was falling out of my chair, and Brett was looking at her and over again was like, this is out of pocket. He was like, you really are pushing this, Vanessa. And he was like letting her know we're not going here. And she just kept going, but come on, guys.
That's the job of a Dark Lord. They need to know if you're having sex. This is in Bachelor for 3 seasons. They ask him what happened in the fantasy suite. Did you get intimate? Chris Harrison has asked that question literally to fucking people on that show.
Sex week.
Yes.
I feel like she was bringing the energy of like a married man in the 1950s, being like, oh, honey, like making kind of these old fashioned jokes and like, when are you going to pop out a baby?
Yeah, it was overly invasive parents. You're like, holy shit, man. Like, I just got here. We've been dating for a year. Like, it was just so aggressive.
It was so inappropriate. But
that's what made it great.
I was triggered. I was thrown back to mine and Evan's wedding day, where the second we walked down the aisle, all like the Christian parents pop up and they're like, "So are you pregnant yet? Have you consummated the marriage yet? Are you having a baby yet?" And I was like, "Oh my god, this is not okay."
I think it's because, did you notice what she was wearing? She had like a sparkly like burp mat on her shoulder, and I think maybe that was like
Loved it.
part of.
I'm thinking about attaching a sparkly, like long shoulder pad to
think
all
you
of my
should.
outfits.
I mean, definitely you definitely should get her dress for the next Love Grove Christmas ball.
Yes.
If I can, I will. If I can get that dress, I will be
sequined
wearing it.
Mark his words.
blanket,
Knowing Chad, he'll get it made.
and it'll be 50
Handcrafted.
pounds, and
Yeah.
he'll be like, "Can we leave? My jewels are too heavy." Again.
One side of the shoulders is permanently.
Yeah. After that night, after wearing 50 pounds of jewels for a full night, I realized I can do anything now.
Yeah.
You are
So I
all
would say I took that away.
powerful.
But let me just say this about Dark Lord Vanessa Lachey. Yes, there are all these complaints. Maybe she came a little too hard in the paint, whatever. Imagine that show if she hadn't done that. Imagine if she would have played it perfectly straight. It was already boring as fuck.
But imagine it would have been a Cohen type where you're really diving into some of the nitty gritty questions from the audience, because I
Yeah.
felt like there were so many moments that like someone said something and I was like, answer that. And she
Right.
would just kind of shift by it and go boing and like do something different.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, hold on. I'm curious about this.
Yeah, I mean, I know people hated her for this, and I'm not trying to defend her necessarily, but I just think that situation is like, those hosts aren't really saying what they want to say. They either have it in an earpiece or there's a teleprompter. The producers are telling them basically what to do. She's throwing her own little spice on it, of course, and that's what I think people had the main problem with, the faces and the constant badgering about, are you going to have a fucking Love is Blind baby or not?
I think the audience went, she keeps saying that she wants to be anti-Vanessa, like she's part of their lives, when, you know, in the same token, she was like, I wouldn't miss the wedding dress fitting. And as soon as the wedding dress fitting began, she left.
Yeah.
Auntie Vanessa's not going to come over and babysit the kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's the one that comes into your birthday party and goes, "I'm here," and you're like, "What? It's my birthday." But like, I just felt like the main problem was she asking like massively invasive questions? Was inappropriate? Yes, all those things. To your point, my biggest problem was how unlikable she was. If you're going Dark Lord with it, you could have been a little more suave with it, a little more like, let them kind of like sit in the awkwardness and have to come up with an answer. But she would ask and answer, make a weird face, make a weird noise, then answer again for them, and then like mock them for not answering. Like, she just took up the whole sound space. Where I just felt like if you would have had a little more like suave ability to kind of ask the question, you at least could have created like them answering.
Do you think inevitably when AI hosts this show, what do you think they'll be programmed to do? Will it be similar to a Dark Lord Vanessa?
It'll be whatever you want it to be, because it will be a show made for you.
Dark Lord Palmer.
And it'll be Dark Lord whoever you want. You could be the Dark Lord in it. The entire cast could be whoever you want it to be. It's not, I don't like, I mean, this is obviously, we're diverting a little bit, but AI generated media is going to be here within 2 years.
We're how many minutes in?
I was directly asked. I did not bring it up. It was a direct
Vanessa,
question to me.
I baited him.
You pulled the little Woody string on the doll.
So
and
I
he
could
just
host it
goes-
one day?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
can
you're
watch
the host.
myself host it one day.
Congratulations.
Oh my God. I wonder
Yeah.
how big my paycheck's going to be.
Well, I mean, all of our paychecks will be zero. Unfortunately, that's the downside of AI making all media, is no one will ever work again. But
They
we'll
took
have
our
fun
jobs.
getting to watch whatever we want.
The world will collapse,
Yeah. But we'll have great TV shows.
but we will be highly entertained. Okay, before diving into some other things, into the actual reunion, what was the name again? Remind me of the organization that
UCAN Foundation.
you can. Okay, because that's definitely one of
It's the letter U underscore CAN on Instagram. We're following it on Game of Roses if you want to
where
find it.
people who go on reality TV shows need to have rights and be treated as employees.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I also think they have a unique opportunity with UCAN to do, basically to have a repository of all of these stories of what actually happens to you on reality television. We know that there are certain people who've gone through reality TV and come out of it just fine, big podcasts called the Vial Files. And, they can do whatever they like. But there are a lot of other people who go through the same process and are not treated
who
exactly
have
the same.
vastly different experiences.
Exactly. And I think a lot of them are afraid, especially if you've come through Bachelor, where legal recourse is threatened against you basically daily if you're even thinking about starting your own podcast, let alone telling the dirty, dark secrets. But I think there are a lot of people who have this information who have been through these experiences and they have really nobody to talk to. And I think that organization, at least from my understanding, what they're trying to do with it is give these players a place where they can go, they can tell you these things, potentially even get some mental health services or legal services if they need. Good. But just to start collecting these stories, because right now you hear them pop off every once in a while on a podcast.
Yeah, because
somebody
people
will say
are
something, you're like,
scared.
what the fuck?
People are scared to talk about it because of legal repercussions and everything. And also mental health shaming.
Exactly.
We've seen it happen.
But I think if you have a giant body of evidence, it becomes a lot easier to use that to leverage into a kind of union and actually get, I mean, the ultimate goal of a union, I think, would be to get these giant corporate fucking machines that make all this media that pay the people on the shows literally nothing in some cases, like Bachelor players don't get fucking paid, to at least get them paid, at least get some kind of minimum level of treatment guaranteed, Because again, I don't think it has to be like it is. I don't think you have to drive people to nervous breakdowns to make, in quotes, good TV.
No. And anyone, by the way, anyone out there saying that they chose to go on the reality TV show, they should know better, just stop it. Until you're in that situation, it's like it's not. And again, it's like you were saying, it's all so personal. Different people have very different experiences depending on
Totally.
All of these industries are going to be exploitative until there are unions, because the corporations don't care about protecting people's mental health. We have to organize in order to get these things, and people organized in order to get it in scripted TV, and just non-scripted TV is behind. And so you're seeing like all of these horrible effects of these exploitative practices. And, I want to feel good about the content I'm watching. I don't want to think that I'm watching something and people are deprived of water to get them to say shit.
Yes.
Like we have Naked and Afraid for that.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't need to actually, like where that's what you're literally wanting to do versus like you're being tricked into it and then abused for it.
They're signing up. They're not like, even if you research it, even if you listen to our show and you have a very good idea of what the experience is going to be like, you don't actually know what the effects on your mental health are going to be. Yeah. Have I gone without my cell phone for a day? No. They're going without their cell phones for a really long time, plus all these other things. Like, it's impossible to predict. And again, it is like the treatment is different for different people.
But I do think the bottom line is the audience. I think largely the audience doesn't understand what practices are used to create these shows. And like you're saying, if it's Survivor or Naked and Afraid, that's the premise of the show. We're all okay with that. We know that these people know they're going to be put on an island in Survivor's case for 30 days without food and water and see how best you can make it. But I think the audience, they get that in Survivor. They don't understand that in a Love is Blind or a Bachelor. They think this is kind of a vacation for these people who get to go and do all these extraordinary things and go to these different tropical locations and fall in love. But that isn't what these shows are. And I think there is a little bit about educating the audience in terms of these producing practices that needs to happen as well. Because again, like Lizzie was saying, if your audience is like, fuck, they're torturing these people, you're going to lose your audience. And then the corporation will start listening.
1,000%. And like you said, like you can be treating your employees, which they are, very well, and making sure they're doing well and are fed and have water and mental health checks, and you will have a phenomenal reality TV show. You cast the right people, and then also too, as the audience, we're then able to get an actual read on people. You're not going, is it just this edit, or is it because, they haven't been treated okay? Like, you're actually getting to know the person, and you're not thinking about all of that behind the scenes stuff.
Jeremy said they're filing W-2s for them for Love is Blind. So are they employees? You're filing them as employees.
Interesting. Very interesting.
No water, but you get a 401k.
That's right. But you got to pay taxes on the $5 an hour we're paying you. But I also think that the producer class currently in both of these shows and in a lot of reality TV is just like, this is how it's been done since the early 2000s. And it has just gotten worse and worse in terms of them feeling like they have to have absolute control over everything that happens to these players, that they're really orchestrating and manipulating all the situations instead of setting up a situation and putting the players in it and seeing what they do. That's where, in my opinion, in Bachelor, at any rate, that's when the best shit has ever happened in Bachelor, is when they set up something interesting, like season 24 pilot Pete, when they put all three of the finalists, Victoria Fuller, Madison Pruitt, and Hannah Ann Sluss, in the same fucking room during
Yeah,
fantasy
during
suites.
fantasy
You guys gotta
suites.
sleep in the same bed with each other.
was
I'm like,
wild.
oh, that's
One
fucking
bed.
crazy.
That was wild. Do you guys happen to know? Sorry, then we'll get back into the reading. But do
Sorry, yeah.
do you happen to know the practices on Love Island?
I don't.
I mean, Love Island feels very like Big Brother of just like tons of cameras and they're just filming whatever happens.
yeah, I'm
But
curious about that.
I'm assuming they cut out producer involvement and there's like some sort of earpiece situation. Because sometimes I feel like producers are talking to them and they're like, we have to go over here or whatever.
Yeah, there hasn't been enough drama
but it
going
feels
on.
hands off.
That's why I was curious about that, because I'm like, oh, that's one of the ones that comes to mind right away that I'm like, okay, they're dropping an episode pretty much every single day of the week minus the weekend, and the cameras, to get an episode every day, you are seeing a lot of their day. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, are they treated better in that situation? Because
We
it's
also
just
get
kind of
to know the
organic.
Love Island people
I
a lot
know.
better. And I think like part of it is that hands-off approach. And guess what? Like you cast these people for a reason. They're interesting. Let them
Yeah.
do the premise of the show, especially in Bachelor. It's like the premise of the show is interesting. You don't need to like be forcing situations and over Sally's suitcase. You don't need to be doing Sally's suitcase.
Sally's suitcase.
I'm talking about Sally's suitcase. No, thank you.
But the Bachelor producers also at this point script the entire season in casting. They literally have pieces of paper. I can't divulge how I know this information, but I know this information. In casting, they will have pieces of paper that say, this is the villain, this is the bachelorette, this is the whoever. And they write that, and that's what happens with very minimal wiggle room. If something crazy pops off that they can't control, like the Bachelor's like, fuck it, get her out of here, fine, they'll reconvene, they'll figure it out. But they script the entire season. So there's no room for any personality to come through. And all they're really doing is, in their edits, cutting down everything to shave off any little piece of personality to try and avoid a situation like Greer Blitzer or like anybody else where something comes up from their past and now the show is made to answer for it. And I think it just makes for a worse show. And you're seeing that play out now with Love is Blind, where they at least, despite all the bad producing practices, they at least in the edit put these interesting conversations in there where you're talking about, I remember in last season, Bartise and Nancy had that conversation about abortion and one about aliens, close to my heart. But like you're never going to see anybody on Bachelor talking about
No.
aliens or certainly not abortion.
No.
So you have no idea what these people's perspectives on any real world events or situations are. And you're just like, what am I watching?
No, they just include they're like, okay, we need a love pun and we need a love level from one of the people who's going to go far. And we don't get to know any of them. We don't
Yeah.
know Charity. She's the next Bachelorette. It just feels like they're shaving all of the edges.
It's like trying to
off of
guarantee
Bachelor.
outcomes versus like letting what happens
It's
happen.
tighter and tighter control. I think in the
Yeah.
absence of Alon Gale, who left in season 23, you had this power vacuum. And now the people who are at the top, like Bennett Graebner, I think these types of producers really just want to fucking strangle it until it's exactly what they want. And the thing they want it's not good. It certainly isn't as good as Love is Blind. And that is what season 4, I think, proved. Even despite the debacle that was this failed live reunion, that season was so fucking good.
It was so good.
It was
And I mean,
amazing.
the proof is in the pudding. You have so many couples who've stayed together for a year at this
It's
point,
crazy.
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
pretty
the amount of couples
incredible.
in Bachelor who've stayed together a year,
Right.
not many.
I mean, like, yeah, it's genuinely like what this is season 4 of Love is Blind, and the amount of couples that have stayed together are like the same as however many seasons of The Bachelor at this point.
Wait, have you watched Love Island Australia?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
The most recent season is really good.
It's fantastic.
It's amazing.
It's so
Just
good. But
as
that's
a
the thing.
side note.
Love is Blind or Love Island. It's like I like the fact that I get to know, just like Love is Blind. I actually feel like I get to know each individual. And what I like about Love Island is that there's very rarely a villain.
Yeah.
There'll be some dramatic situations, but when there is a villain, genuinely, it's because they keep getting into shit, and then everyone from the cast is trying to work it out with them over and
Yeah.
over again, and then they just keep, but there's chance after chance. It's not it's not a narration.
Mm-hmm.
It's
No, it's they're letting a villain like, let's say Callum, Callum,
Callum, I think.
Love Island Australia, who's just like stepping in it left and right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like the producers are making him that
No.
way. There's maybe a little bit of narration from the narrator being like, oh, haha, he's a F-boy kind of thing. But it's definitely not like we've crafted and taken this person's words out of context to make this person sound like they're a sociopath.
And it goes to show you that you have one of the biggest shows out there, and you don't often have a villain in it. And it's still so much drama. So much drama.
There's also, I think, an element in a lot of these shows, especially if you watch Perfect Match, which is kind of the kinetic content Netflix answer to Bachelor in Paradise. It's like an all-star group dating kind of format. Those players look like they're having fun. Whereas you look at any Bachelor show, Paradise or Bachelorette or Bachelor, those players are living in fear, terror. They don't want to be there. It's miserable to be there. And they are scared of what the producers are going to do to them. That's the overarching feeling you get from those players. And I think it just makes for bad TV. Whereas, again, in the Love is Blind shows, you might get some reunion, like side eye from some of the players and fuck you, we want to get out of here. But during the course of the season, it does look like they're invested in what's going on and they're not thinking about their edits. Whereas in Bachelor, I think that's all players are thinking about. Like, how the fuck is this going to get cut? Am I going to look like shit? Am I going to get death threats? Am I going to be a Brennan Marias, lose 100K Instagram followers just because they wanted to paint me as a villain?
Oh, God.
And I think that culture of fear in Bachelor it's really detrimental to the show.
Well,
I'm gonna use the restroom real quick. I'm like dying. You can keep going though.
okay.
I'm literally like, thanks for waiting for the end of my diatribe about Bachelor and the culture of terror that exists.
we let people use the bathroom here.
Yeah, that's right.
This is
Sit in the fucking chair and say the line I wrote for
Lee,
you.
clip it. We let him use the restroom. We don't keep him here, okay? We let him use the bathroom. Okay,
Evan can't pee, Evan can't poop.
Oh, poor Tarzan.
well, here's the thing. I have to tell you from the start of this reunion, my first beef with this reunion began with the fact that we did not give adequate enough time and space to the king and queen of this season, Brett and Tiffany. That was bewildering to me. I'm like, first of all, you have this season where so many people walked away, are still married, they haven't broken up, and technically Josh and Jackie are still together. So you've had many success stories. And yet, the king and queen who were together from the top never faltered.
That made him believe in love again. He was watching it and he's like, if they break up, I'm going to lose it.
Oh, that's true. But, there are rumors swirling out there in the rumor sphere that was a manufactured couple, that they knew each other before the show to some degree.
Chad,
Yeah.
don't even start.
Don't you dare.
Don't you dare.
I'm just reporting.
Don't you dare.
I'm not making this up.
dare
These are things I
put that in my
read
brain.
out
This
there
is-
in the internet.
This is the magic
No
of
bathroom
love.
for you, Chad.
This is the magic of love.
Don't say this
is the
about
magic of
Tiffany.
love. Okay. Just like sobbing.
No, whether they were manufactured or not, like they do seem to be very genuinely in love and are in a happy couple and all that, and it's great.
They're so deeply
And she
in
has,
love.
this is another metric that you can compare against Bachelor. Tiffany right now, I believe, has 630 some K Instagram followers. Yes. A complete demolition of anyone in Bachelor season 27. The biggest one, I believe, is Katie Bigger, who has 230 something.
Wow.
So almost triple your highest player in the most
Your
recent
ring
season of
winner.
Bachelor.
Incredible.
Even the incoming Bachelorette. I don't even think Charity is at 200K yet. I could be wrong.
That is
She's just crossing to
unreal.
100.
Everyone go follow
looking right
Charity. But I just could not believe that here is the king and queen of our season, and that there's not space allotted to them to like get more into their relationship.
Yeah, what have they been doing since the show?
Or just like tell us about how you felt when you first. I mean, just a moment. It was right away, just like. So, did you do it right after in the at the wedding? And look, we have a behind the scenes clip of your guys' first night together, and they showed the clip of her sleeping from the pods,
Just
which
an
was
attempt at humor that was so bad.
so
it
bad.
fell so flat.
Same with the pants thing when she was like, we started late because he had to fix his pants.
Yeah. These are not funny people. The producers of these shows are not funny people. And the Lachey's are not, generally speaking, funny people. She was unintentionally funny, for sure.
Right. Laughed at, not with.
Yeah, exactly. But always in all these shows when the producers try to like script a little bit of comedy, never fucking works. Bachelor does this shit too, and you're just like, are you fucking kidding me? It's not what the show is.
I'd prefer to think she brought the clip and brought the joke. And it's just like, they're going to love this.
She hands
They're
it
gonna
She
love
handed it. It was just like,
producer.
guys, throw this, and it's going to be a killer moment.
They're gonna love
crush.
it. It plays and everyone's just crickets in the audience, and she's like,
Like, it would have been even just so much better if it would have been like a picture versus the video. Because like, even before the video was shown, we knew it was coming. It was like, oh, she's going to make a sleeping joke. And then we watched like the 40-second video,
like
and then it
10
came back, and it was
hours of
like
it.
the joke was dead before you even said it. And then she's like, right, guys? Because she was sleeping. And you're just like, yeah, like, duh. It's like when someone's at the dinner. It's like when someone's at the dinner party and they're not really funny, but they're like, watch me entertain this entire dinner with these horrific jokes, and no one's laughing, and they're just still just living in their own world. Like, am I not a comedic
and
genius?
to be fair, if there would have been a situation like what went down with them where they couldn't air it for an hour and a half, you know that Jesse Palmer would have gone on live stream on his Instagram and goddamn tap danced for us if that's what we needed. He would have started doing magic tricks. He would have really done everything he
that.
could.
I'd watch Jesse Palmer do magic tricks.
Do some football drills, some workouts.
Yeah, you guys watch me do 20 push-ups.
You think he can do 20
I would watch
push-ups?
that.
I think so. I
don't know.
Be like, Zach, come on out here, hop on my back. I can do 10.
Squats.
Yeah,
I believe in it.
Yeah.
maybe.
He can do anything.
You really can.
He's hosting those cooking shows. He's in his little outfits. He's wearing costumes in it.
He does it
I
all.
love our new Dark Lord.
He does it all. He does it all. But they don't give Brett and Tiffany their time.
No.
In fact, we're finding out random things like the fact that Brett also doesn't live in Seattle, that he lives in Portland.
That is insane that we did not hear that comment before.
It was a full storyline with Kwame and Chelsea, and we've never
to
heard it.
vilify them as a couple.
Yeah.
We never heard it with Brett and Tiffany at all. We find out that she's moved all the way down to Portland. And in fact, Brett wanted the people to know. He was like, by the way, we also had some tribulation where like one of us had to make this whole transition in their life, and she's not getting the credit for the fact that we also were having to grind through this stuff. It wasn't all easy for us. Like, we went through it too.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing about Love is Blind is there's much more than in Bachelor. There's a lot that you do not know about what actually happened. There are multiple couples that get engaged that you never even see.
Yeah.
That don't make the cut going to Mexico or going to wherever the tropical paradise is for all the other couples. There were, I think, 2 on Love is Blind that got engaged in the pods. And then they were just like, you're not coming with us to Mexico. Bye. Kick.
We heard about that, and that to us, there's not a worse situation on this planet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You've
you're
called
like,
all
I
your
got
friends and family.
engaged for this show, and
the
then they're not
show.
even going to air it. I would just start filming your own show. Those 2 couples should make their own
Seriously,
spin-off.
do a YouTube channel. Something.
I mean, they're probably not allowed to do it in the contract,
Yeah.
but
Oh God.
But I mean, that's another thing about that contract. You can go into these games and be like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to do this shit. All I got to do is get engaged and I make it to the next round. And that's where the Instagram starts coming. And then you do that thing and they tell you, fuck off. There's no, even for playing the game correctly, you can get punished or eliminated from the game altogether. It's a very hard game to play. I feel like Love is Blind in that regard. You have to almost at this point, I mean, I can't help myself. I just look at the analytics of like who's coming out of it with the most Instagram followers and who becomes beloved or hated or whatever. The game you're really playing is the Brett and Tiffany game, a 100% for the right reasons. We are each other's soulmates. That's going to get you very far in the game. And then you're also looking for victimization. This season, Marshall Glaze was the biggest victim to Jacqueline Bonds, and he has over 500K Instagram followers. Will, I would bet, be showing up on Perfect Match,
but
where
he
he's
announced a
probably going to blow up.
girlfriend.
Okay, we'll see.
Listen,
He's not
they're
going to have
in
a girlfriend
love.
when they make that call.
They're in love. Okay.
Whatever.
That's why he needed the ring. Vanessa said that, and Jackie said that.
At least they let him keep the fucking rings.
Whoa. Okay. Hold on a second.
Bachelor has something different going on.
I went on our last podcast and I was like, they do not let them keep the rings. What are they talking about? And then I was listening and I heard, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
They let them keep the rings.
That's intense.
That's intense.
That's so wild.
Also, when there's a breakup, just one person gets the ring.
Yeah.
That's painful. You're like, we
I
can't
know.
sell it and split the profit. Like
I
just
know.
one. Like, she still has the ring.
Yeah.
Jackie still has
Yeah.
the ring.
And Josh is like, thank you so much. Now I will not. You'll be like, by the way, do you want to get married? Just do that one you already have.
Yeah.
Like, if you just leave the ring.
Change the guy's name.
Just want to make it complicated.
Just takes it off her nightstand in the middle of the night and is like, surprise.
Like Sharpies the band, try to make it look different.
It's a platinum. It's it's a different color.
No, I found that very interesting too, because then there is a money prize now in this game. If you can get to that point, do the couples who got engaged but don't make it to Mexico get to keep the ring? That I don't know.
Ooh, that's a good question.
But the fact that there's a money prize element in it is better, I think, than Bachelor, because as we know in Bachelor, the broken engagements, those rings go directly to Michael Fleiss, and he stores them in a repository of broken engagements.
They're like Super Bowl rings.
yeah, basically.
He's got them
That's
on
one
every
way
one
of
of his
looking at
fingers.
it. Neil Lane, the demon sparkler provider, says he likes to think those broken engagement rings go to heaven.
They don't, though. They go to Mike Fleiss. They go to
Go to
hell.
hell.
Do you think Mike Fleiss still has them, even though he's been
100%.
dismissed?
100%. You kidding me? Those are trophies.
He's got them like, you know what I mean? Like how like old warriors would have
Yes.
bones of their
Oh my
bones.
God,
He's
on
got
a
them on a necklace.
He's got a fucking crown.
Yeah, he's got
with
a
him on
crown
a
of
throne,
them.
like
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, of all the fucking broken diamonds and shit.
He breaks them up and makes them into a grill.
Yeah, I love that.
Fucking snorts the diamond dust late at night. That was a good one. Season 5.
Some people have like a bondage room, a secret bondage room.
Yeah.
When he's with a woman, he's like, check this out, and just opens the door, and it's just like like crust chips of diamonds and just some sort of creepy.
Yeah, and then pictures of all of the bachelorettes and bachelors and stuff.
Crying.
Who have all those, just pictures of them crying with the fucking diamond dust everywhere. This is the misery I have wrought. I can see that being true.
Yeah, I think this probably is.
I prefer to believe that.
Not far
Allegedly,
from the truth.
but you know.
No, he does have the rings. That part is true. And then
That's
if you,
wild.
Yeah, if you make it through like Caitlin Bristow did with Sean Booth, if you're engaged and you meet your contractual obligation of time that you get to keep the ring, Neil Lane then gets first option to buy that back from you if you ever want to sell it.
Oh,
I mean,
But if you
sometimes
break up
there is a
before
money
that,
prize, though.
Fleiss gets
Michelle Young and Nate Olakoya got $200K for their house.
A
Yep.
rare occurrence.
Yeah,
A rare occurrence.
sure.
Okay, one more quick pause. So it's spring. So put some spring into your step with Rothy's. With sustainably made flats and bags in every bright color imaginable, you'll be re-energizing your looks in no time. I've been obsessed with my Rothy's for years. They have so many different shades and prints with their shoes too. And not only are they so chic, they are also the most comfortable shoes I own. I swear by them. There is no break-in period. I love them.
they're so comfy. Their quality is also seriously amazing. I mean, 45,000 5-star reviews and counting can't be wrong.
No.
And Rothy's are made to last. All styles are machine washable, so they keep looking great all year long, and everything at Rothy's is sustainably made with their signature thread spun from single-use plastic bottles, over 158 million and counting.
God, I love so many of their styles. My personal faves are their slip-on sneakers. I love them so much. I cannot get enough of them. And also their new almond-shaped loafer is so cute. Side note, the machine washable piece is a game changer to me personally. I wore a pair of my Rothy's in the desert this weekend and it was dusty. All I had to do was throw my pair of Rothy's into the washing machine and boom, they came out good as new. Amazing.
For stylish and comfortable shoes, shop Rothy's. Get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/momdad. That's ROTHYS.com/momdad. $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/momdad.
Summertime is right around the corner, which means school is almost over, which means the kiddo will be home. And I am so excited. But myself and other parents and caretakers out there are like, what are we going to do with keeping the kiddos preoccupied and learning and excited throughout the summer? Well, let us tell you about KiwiCo. Oh my gosh, Ember loves KiwiCo. She's been obsessed with KiwiCo for years, and so are we. Each month, KiwiCo delivers crates packed with fun and sparks creativity with kid-friendly topics and activities, from engineering robots to learning about the science of cooking. There's interesting topics for every kid and real hands-on skills to explore.
Ember loses her mind when that box shows up.
I know, she's obsessed.
Yeah, discover subscription lines for infants and preschoolers to teens and beyond. As a parent, it can be really hard to find creative ways to keep your children busy, challenged, and off their screens. KiwiCo does the legwork for you so you can spend quality time tackling projects together. They'll be so excited the day the box arrives, and it'll be their favorite day of the month.
Yeah, that's a fact. We do love doing the projects together, but I will say one of my favorite things about KiwiCo is that they make it so that kids can do it themselves, which cultivates so much confidence and pride in their work. I know for Ember, the moment of pride and accomplishment at the end of a KiwiCo project sparks creativity and confidence for ongoing tinkering and experimentation. I know the other day Ember finished one of her crates that was focused on planters, and as soon as she was done, she was out in the yard, she was digging around, she was experimenting. It sparked that creativity, and it was absolutely incredible. Redefine learning with play, explore hands-on projects that build creative confidence and problem-solving skills with KiwiCo. Get 50% off your first month plus free shipping on any crate line at kiwico.com/momdad. That's 50% off your first month at kiwico.com/momdad. Wow.
Just a side note though, did we ever figure out, did Jackie say anything, like when Vanessa said, so you kept the ring? It wasn't like, did she just was kind of like, I did keep the ring. It was like, oh, good to know. Like, it wasn't like a, here's why. It was just like, and I did, and it's been very good to me. Like, and it was just very like.
And Vanessa was like, good for you.
Yeah, there wasn't any sort of like, why did you keep the ring? Because then later on, she goes, Marshall, why does it bother you she kept the ring? And he had to explain, like, well, it's a symbol of my love. And she's like, oh, interesting. But then to Jackie, she's just like, you kept the ring, right? Good. It was just like so strange to me that there wasn't like
I agree.
an interest in having her explain it.
You know, she's a new person every day.
Oh my
But they also, I don't think the producers don't want to have that conversation about like, there's a money element of this. Because then it makes the whole thing cheapened. You know what I mean? Like all the other relationships now are like, oh, well, they get to keep the ring too. And there's money involved now. And who gets to sell it? What if these relationships break up? You know, I remember in Bachelor season 2, not to keep going back to Bachelor, but like that is the thing that generated all of this shit. In Bachelor season 2, the Bachelor was a guy named Aaron Boerge from Missouri, and he made a point of buying the ring himself. And there was a whole scene where he whips out a checkbook and fucking writes the check for the ring, because in season 1, Alex Michelle, obviously the ring that he gave to Amanda Marsh was producer given. And now every season post Aaron Boerge, even Andrew Firestone, the Real Millionaire, season 3, those were all given by the show. Neil Lane came in later, but that idea that, the players are responsible for any element of the relationship moving forward, the ideas for the dates, paying for any of these extravagant dates, the ring itself, they're not. The producers do all of that. And I think that they want to stay away from exposing that idea, even though it's there in plain sight, because it cheapens the relationship. It makes it far less about for the right reasons.
Of course. Then versus you have Love is Blind, where these people are actually like go home and they're working.
Yeah.
While they're filming, which is wild. And like you actually are spending real days and nights with each other and getting to know each other off camera quite a lot. I think we've seen that a lot in some of the texts between producers and contestants that have come out with time signatures where you're like, oh yeah, these people really are, they're still going to work, and there's tons of time off camera that they're having with each other.
I don't think they should be allowed off camera.
Cameras everywhere.
I will say that.
Ring cameras everywhere.
That's a little Vanessa Lachey of me.
We want to watch you always. We're always watching.
What did you all think of? So then they moved to Kwame and Chelsea. Of course, they talk about the engagement photo shoot. All I wanted to know was, did you all use this photo to invite people to your wedding or send out after your wedding? Because I'd love to know.
100%.
I'd love to know. They do confirm that they will be getting large prints of it in their hallway, which Evan and I, of course, predicted. We're like, they're definitely going to have massive prints above the guest bed, all of this, so that you have to,
You
observe
sit there while
them.
you're sleeping and like looking at your hosts mostly nude, like kind of subtly having sex, and you're just kind of like, why is this hanging in here?
She did give an interesting tidbit, which was that they had cut out this whole, they had a Calvin Klein themed date. And
Yeah.
she had bought underwear for her future husband with her mom and then had to have them flown out or something. And I was like, oh, do they actually pay for the stuff that they're gifting to the other person? Because I think in Bachelor, all of that stuff is provided by producers, but
Right.
maybe they're allowed to get in there.
I just felt like there was a level of, like you said, in Bachelor, there's so much script and so much, just like you just follow this. But it did feel like there was a lot of things that resonated with their personalities. Like Chelsea was like a certain way, kind of a little more high strung and a little more like that way. And then there was a lot of actions done that were that way. Like even just her like booking that photo shoot was the most her thing ever.
Totally.
And him being awkward about it was the most him thing ever. So, it didn't feel like, it felt like it was her idea. Like there was many of those things that I felt like were very much their own ideas of just like, I don't know, like it created an honest moment.
Well, it was interesting because then we got the clip of Chelsea and Micah having a conversation where then we hear Chelsea saying to Micah that he said he broke up with you, you said you broke up with him, and then we go back to the reunion where, Kwame makes his apologies after everything, but then is making it clear that they had skipped numerous dates, that he had written the note to break up with her, and we didn't see that. We were led to believe that she simply broke up with him, and then he transferred right back to Chelsea, which to me was definitely an interesting moment of, as a viewer, a reminder of editing.
Yeah.
Because I
was tricked.
Trust and
It did
believe.
seem like you did a proposal to two people in a row.
Trust and believe, I still think the man had the hots for Micah after the pods, which, listen, to me, understandably so. You're talking with someone for hours, you're vibing with them, and then all of a sudden you're with them in Mexico and you're not going to maybe have a little bit of a feeling, a pull towards them. I still think he had the hots for her. I don't believe that he was fully over it.
I mean, he kept the note, the breakup note he supposedly wrote. He said, I still have it. And I'm like, why do you still have it?
Just in case.
Did you
Was that for love
did you
or was
just
that for
write
evidence?
it?
Like you wrote a breakup note before, and then you got broken up with, and then you keep the note for a year and a half, like in your like special notebook. Like I don't know. I'm
in
not
a scrapbook of
receipt.
Micah.
Yeah, I'm a little bit like he's but
That scene that they had between Micah and Chelsea, I thought was shot after the show. It looked so weird and out of place.
It was
Really
very
It
weird.
looked like
Yeah.
a film set.
It looked very strange. Also, Micah had a dog, and I was like, is this a new dog? I don't feel like we've met this dog.
They're all, well, I think we did know she had a dog, which where also I was like, what do you mean she's not maternal? Like, is she not taking care of this dog? But
Like,
that
this dog
scene
is
was so
thriving.
weird. It was like, oh yeah, we're gonna walk our dogs together, and then they don't even walk. They're just like, we just brought our dogs outside together It
To go
seemed
poop. The dogs
very-
pooped,
Yeah.
and then they went.
Did they live in
Very
the same
strange.
place? Did they both live in that apartment complex? I don't understand what was going on in that
Was
scene.
that the row of condos that they all lived? Were
don't
they
know.
neighbors?
I don't
I don't know. There's some gray area in like, do they set them all up when they go back to the city? Do they set them up in the same apartment complex to make it easier to shoot? But some of them, it looks like, are in their actual houses because we're going there. But I will say, I love what Love is Blind does by setting each season in a city. It
Yeah.
removes a big
Yeah,
problem
that
that
is nice.
Bachelor has, which is like, who's going to move where?
Yeah.
And I think Bachelor could take that lesson and
Big
make
time.
every season set in a city. It would.
No, San Diego every time.
I'm down. I'm down.
it just goes San Diego,
Fucking
Chicago,
down.
San Diego, Chicago,
Yeah.
San Diego, Chicago. Just
Right.
like, that's
It
the two
should
cities
be.
everyone's from.
Just back and
Great.
forth the entire time. No, well, I mean, and honestly, it's Brett and Kwame were the two that were in Portland, and
Yeah.
yes, it's not Seattle, but it's not too far. It's not across the country. Like they were able to drive back and forth,
Right.
so that was an option. But yeah, the whole the Chelsea and Kwame situation. Listen, the entire time, all of us were like, I mean, I'm assuming everyone was like, "There's no way these two are together. There's
Yeah.
no way." And then when we see these moments where you're like, the editing, they led us to believe a certain thing. And again, I'm going to stand by the fact that I still think he had the hots for Micah. And I think that he was nervous about saying the I do's. But clearly they're still together and they seem very much in love.
Yeah.
And it looks like they got an edit that really wanted to give us a certain narrative
Yeah.
that would keep us on our toes.
My
For
favorite,
sure.
my favorite thing about the Chelsea or the Kwame and Micah breakup kind of thing that happened with Chelsea finding out that, like, oh wait, he said he was breaking up with you, and then you said this, right? Was that when they were on the reunion there, and then Kwame's like, yeah, like I was planning on breaking up with her. I wrote the note and everything, and so like basically like we were on the same page, and then like Micah's like, what? And then she's like, she could tell she's been through it. And so she's trying to kind of put the perfect face on for the show to not cause any more drama. And she's just like, I was unaware. and I was given no signal at all that he wanted to break up, but neither here nor there. We've done what's bad. Like, it was so clearly, like,
it was like,
he had been
remember the
telling
pact,
Chelsea
remember
for
the
months,
pact. Yeah.
I wanted to break up with her. I didn't even like her. And then Micah's like, not according to every interaction we ever had, but I think it's great that you guys are together. Like, it was clearly, and even when Kwame was talking to Chelsea, or like apologizing, he's like, I have an apology, and there's 3 elements of my apology. I'm like, oh, this has been rehearsed and talked through with Chelsea, and because every time he ended a sentence, it went up. He's like, and I'm very sorry about the things that I've done. Like, it was very like, and did I hit all my, okay, we're good. All right, yeah, we're good. It just killed me.
It did seem very much like, oh, you broke up with me when I was about to propose? No, I wrote in my diary on July 2nd, I'm about to break up with Micah, definitely.
He's like, went
Hope
back.
she'll be
and he's just
okay.
like, July 7th.
Leave an empty page just in case. Keep it safe. No, but I think, definitely we see a heavy play with the edit with those two that
definitely.
made us feel a certain way. That's for sure. Then, we end up getting transferred into Arena and Micah. They have Arena sit down. And I do definitely feel like I imagine a lot of the heat from this episode, as far as the Lachey's was that, there was a lot of accountability that was talked about with some of the people and not others.
Yeah.
That was an interesting dynamic. Zach wanted to have his moment.
Yeah, and he used it. He promoted his own Instagram through it.
Zach, to me, was like the person I remember most from this reunion. I feel like he was.
Zach
except for
was
Vanessa,
my
obviously.
favorite on the reunion, and I saw a lot of people giving Zach shit. I liked it because I thought Zach brought the drama.
Zach got shit?
Yeah.
For what?
I think he was plugging his Instagram a lot.
love that.
Yeah, when he literally looked at her and goes, "You weren't here for the right reasons. You just came on this show to get famous. By the way, go to my Instagram, and right now I've got receipts."
Premiering at 7 p.m.
Yeah, unreal. Unfucking real.
But then his receipts were
Had nothing to do with the show. It was a thing about his mom.
and it was so beautiful.
Sure, but
So to me,
That's just good marketing.
I just felt like I saw it and I was like, what a beautiful use of social media. I don't feel like we see it very often. I'll stand by my king.
sure, of course. I'm not saying it was a bad post. I'm saying how he promoted it was like, he literally was accusing Irina of
Yes.
Right.
for the wrong reasons, fame seeking. He's literally obviously
all
doing the same
on there
thing.
for
They're doing
his-
that.
Everyone's on there. They want to be on TV. They want to, whatever. Question though, can we acknowledge that some people are a little more there for the wrong reasons than others?
Yeah, everybody's
Oh,
on the
for
spectrum.
sure.
There's a scale, right?
It's 4TRR and 4TWR on both sides of the scale. So everybody's somewhere in between. Nobody's
I'm
full
a little
either. I
for the
think.
wrong reasons. When Micah and Irina were doing their whole like dynamic duo villain thing, I was like, this is amazing. We've never seen this on Love is Blind.
Yeah.
It was spicy television, that's
I
for
was
sure.
shocked, and they're like hiding, and
They were laughing at somebody crying.
It was
multiple
bewildering.
times. Yeah.
Multiple times. And then Irina tries to snake her BFF's guy.
Yeah.
And then their dinner together where she was like, I don't know.
But
That was
Irina was
wild.
real. I feel like producers probably told her, here's what you need to do. You got to go tell Micah you kind of want to get with her guy, and then maybe we'll bring you on Perfect Match.
Irina is one of those ones, listen, and I'm, there's always the edit, right? And there's all this,
Yeah.
and there's producer play.
yeah, we don't know any of these people.
We don't know these people. I gauge there's certain people that I'm like, listen, there's some action sometimes on the show where I'm like, yeah, this went above and beyond to me, and I can't shake it off. And so to me, I look at it and I go, listen, Zach's out here going, you're here for the wrong reasons. It's like, listen, Zach, you're about to promote your Instagram, which I love what you did with it. Shout out. But you're about to promote your Instagram, and you were also here to be on television and hopefully maybe get somewhat of an influencing career. But Irina feels pretty saturated and in the wrong reasons to me. That's how I feel.
I think the difference for me, like watching this show, was like with Bachelor, it's such a legacy that like people are so familiar with what happens that like the villains are generally like almost comical or campy in the way that they are villainous. They're like, I'm gonna grab that thing and throw it in the pool and call you a dumb bitch and walk. You know what I mean? It's always kind of like it almost feels like there's an element to it where it's like someone whispered, "Go throw it in the pool," and they're like, walk over there and be over the top. Yeah. Where like this one hasn't reached that level to where like we've seen enough of it to where like it feels like you're getting a lot more of an honest, like these are people's personalities we're seeing in this. So for me, it's like the Irina thing, what made it so dark, and the reason why I think she couldn't come out of it, like even on the show, you could tell the more she talked, the worse it got. Even if she's apologizing, there was so many moments that made her look bad because it wasn't, I'm gonna do this shady move. It was, I'm laughing at people's sorrow. I'm literally like smiling and cackling as people are crying on the floor. Like it was next level mean. It wasn't like I took your bed and threw it in the pool so you wouldn't sleep in my, you know what I mean? It wasn't silly. It was like we like remember those people in high school or like we saw those people growing up and were triggered by it. Yeah.
But there's also this to think about. I thought with Irina, I'm not defending any of her actions moralistically or anything, but I am reminded of Ashley Salter on season 18, 19 of Bachelor.
Chris Soules?
19, I think it was Chris Soules, the zombie group date. Yeah, it was Chris Soules, season 19. She clearly was going through some shit on that season. I don't know if you remember this. And
it's very fuzzy.
The producers brought her back to Paradise, and she was behaving in ways that were like just bizarre at a level that you were like, is this a joke to her? Is this performance art? What the fuck is going on? And I think some people, when they get in these situations and like, fuck, there's a bunch of cameras and producers and it's this weird thing. They're making us go on the pods. They don't fucking know how they're going to react to it. And some people may react like, what the fuck is this? This person's fucking crying on the ground. Now they got this fucking booze coming in. There's Nick Lachey. What the fuck? And it's kind of like a weird, bizarro, surreal joke to them, you know, all of it. Because especially in that situation, you have to be constantly questioning, is this person crying? Are they putting that on for the cameras? Is this even real? Not, again, I'm not trying to defend her. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate to say, like, you don't really know what the fuck anybody's experiencing when they're in that situation. And to, like, villainize them in a real way to say, like, that person's a fucking bad piece of shit person. I have no idea what she's like.
But no, I hear you. And I think that's then when it gets too far, when you're taking it actually onto someone's social media and getting into their actual human space. And you're like, we don't really actually know these people. So
yeah, not at all.
Yeah, I try to not believe anything that I'm seeing. I'm like, I don't know what she's actually laughing at. It's not in the same frame, so it could be anything. Sure. I don't know.
I get sucked into it so bad. You guys are like on this, like you guys are behind the Wizard of Oz. I'm just right there going, I can't believe she did that.
Evan's kicking down doors.
No, but I do get like, whoa, you know what I mean? Obviously, I don't ever like get taken down the road of like, it doesn't stay in my mind more than a few minutes, but there is this element of like, holy shit, this is happening, you know? And I know there is definitely a level of like intentional ignorance on my end. Yeah. Like I almost want to believe on those moments just because it makes me feel like a part of the journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, it's the 2-minute hate. It's 1984, George Orwell.
Right.
If you remember that book or you saw the movie or anything, there's a part where like all the people get filed into this room and they put an image up on a screen of, in quotes, the enemy. Right. And everybody screams at the screen for 2 minutes. Then you go to fucking work. Like, that's what reality TV is. Here's the thing you love. Here's the person you hate. Cheer them, yell at them.
Right. Like and Top Gun.
Okay, well, here's the thing, everybody. What just happened is that we assumed just happened is that we were talking too much smack on the Lachey's and they laughed at us for talking about their technical difficulties and all of our videos shut down from when we were previously recording. So sorry.
The Dark Lords Lachey, we're so sorry. We didn't know how powerful you were.
You know what? I'll never say anything negative again. Anything again. Cut to me in 2 minutes. And
exactly right.
I'm talking shit.
It all happens again.
I blame the Lachey's. I blame Mercury retrograde. But we're we're back, and sorry for the
back.
lost video footage. You'll never know what we were doing in that video footage.
It was really fun and charismatic.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we all agree that we did really well in the video.
We were very compelling.
lost.
If you want to see the video, it's now on OnlyFans. That's the way for us to get you to our OnlyFans.
Yes.
Oh shit! I didn't know it was that type of show.
We were all naked the entire time.
I had no bottoms on the inside.
So now that
Just
we
so
put
you
our
know.
clothes back on,
Yes.
Now that we're clothed again,
Yes.
let's get back into it. So I believe we were talking about Zach and Arena and all of that, but Zach was living his dramatic truth this entire episode. And I think a lot of it was, even though it's been a year, it felt to me like, I know everyone was saying like he's here, he's trying to get followers. I did feel like a lot of it though too was there was still some serious pain that was emanating from insecurities and hurt that happened. And I think he was wanting to have his moment of like, everybody, this is what I experienced. But I definitely think in general, the audience already had their feelings about Arena. But then Zach was coming in too when he was talking about Paul and Micah. So when the Paul and Micah breakdown started to happen and Vanessa was talking to Paul over and over again about the nurturing piece, which was, we talked about it on our last episode. That was not a nice thing to say. And the more that she talked to him, the more that I felt like she was asking about all the deep pieces, and he kind of just kept burying the hole a little bit farther. And I'm like, my guy, the way you could have gotten out of this is you just apologize that you shouldn't have said that. And that wasn't a nice thing to say. And all you go is, everybody remember Shelby? Remember Shelby? Everybody, let's just talk about Shelby. Like, that's an easy transfer. Throw to Shelbs, which I don't know why we didn't have Shelbs on this show.
I feel like that was a huge mistake on their
A
part
huge
to not
loss.
bring her in. At least zoom her in.
Zoom in Shelby.
She's
I
got
agree.
thoughts. She's polarizing, and that's what. I mean, if it were Housewives, they would have done it.
They absolutely
Yeah.
would have brought in Shelby on. No
She
questions
was
asked.
so just like, polarizing. Just to have someone on there who's just like, I hate this guy, get him out of here, and you have to fight against that. Like, well, that's intense. She did not hold back at all. Like, as the wedding's exploding, she's just like, told y'all, he sucked.
We
It was
were
just like,
obsessed with her. It was like, you've broken up multiple of your friends' relationships. How is that
Multiple.
possible?
And if they
Very
would have had her on
powerful.
this episode, I do really believe that she would have brought the heat.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they were a little too nervous to have her on.
She would have
Paul misplayed it, though.
outshone Vanessa.
Yes.
During the season, Paul misplayed his first meeting with Shelby. She essentially established herself as the gatekeeper to that relationship. And he told Micah, like, I don't give a fuck what your friends think about me.
In front of her.
What?
that was intense.
Sorry, what? You're never doing that. You're saying like, oh, Shelby, she's a little rough around the edges. She takes a while to warm up, but I really love her. She's fantastic. I can see why you're best friends, and I want her to be my best friend too.
Yeah.
Just say it.
She cares about you,
Lie.
so I care
Yeah.
about her. Yeah.
No, he let his feelings be known about Shelby, and that's for sure. But during this whole interaction, Zach was feeling it. He wanted Paul to have his moment because, I mean, truth of the matter is this. There were definitely things that Paul needed. There needed to be discussions, specifically with that nurturing comment and all of this. Yes, I'm glad that they talked about it, but there was no heat on Micah ever at all. And there were numerous times during this season where there was some controversial moments, and even that they had the conversation with Kwame about how he interacted with Micah, but that didn't get thrown on Micah. She didn't talk about that at all. And so it was all very Paul heavy, and Zach couldn't help himself, and he started whispering to Paul, and Vanessa was like, this is a quote unquote live reunion, my guy. Share with the class.
Yeah.
You gotta share with the class.
she just didn't. She was fascinating in that she didn't have any sort of, in her mind, like a line. There was no line in her mind that was like, all right, that's gonna be too much. Right? I just drilled him.
Yeah.
Now let's let him rest for a second. Now it's like, no, we're going back in.
Going back in.
Because I'm not a part of this like inside joke you guys got going on. Why can't I do that?
And Zach then just swung for the fences, and he was like, I've heard from women on this show that Micah really didn't want to be married to you. And then they were like, well, what did she say? And he's like, well, she just didn't talk about it a lot.
Yeah. And then she went person by person. She goes, who did it? And she's like, I think that's when she said, like, I know you guys have someone of the Love is Blind, like, pact between you two.
Yeah.
But I'll get to it. Who? You? Oh, there it is. It's like
Irina, she landed on. oh, I think we found it.
And
She
she
We
like this.
found it.
Yeah.
She's like, and I
on
found
the nose.
it.
Yeah.
Like, God.
That's
man.
great, though. Imagine if she wouldn't have done that.
dinner
Right.
party energy.
But
Yeah.
then
Which I
Great.
respect, and please don't turn our video off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, please don't turn the cameras
Please,
off again.
Vanessa.
You looked great on video.
I loved the burp rag. It was stylish.
It was a 10. It was a
Met
10.
Gala burp rag. Yeah.
I did like how Zach was getting in there so much, even on other people's storylines. I was like, he is gonna be the star of like in my mind. I watched this maybe last week, but I was like, he's the main one who stands out to me for how much he was talking. And we've never seen
Yeah.
someone on Love Is Blind Lyondike before, where you like Ari Lyondike proposed to a certain person and then broke up with her, and then Becca Kufrin, and then got with now Lauren Lyondike chose the second place person. This is the first time they've been able to engineer that, and it was so uncomfortable to watch.
So
that
uncomfy.
the boat proposal where his leg is hanging off of the thing he's trying
We
to
thought he
kneel
was. We
on
thought he was gonna fall off. We
it
were
was
convinced.
So funny. I loved it.
He's got 458K Instagram followers, by the way. I just
Wow.
checked.
Wow, he's crushing.
That obliterates anyone from Bachelor season 27,
Anyone.
including The Bachelor.
Not even close.
Why would you even go
Unbelievable.
on Bachelor at this point?
Yeah. I coach people to go into Bachelor, and I have had in these past couple of weeks my first person that I was like, you should go into Love Is Blind. Because they have,
Wow.
at least the person I was talking to, immediately I was like, if you talk to the Bachelor producers for 5 minutes, you will be a villain, period. There ain't no way
You
around
knew.
it.
It's
Yeah.
Love Is
interesting.
Blind, though, you can get in.
It's interesting you bring this up because my very best friend, everyone, she was just on our podcast, and everyone who meets her is like, you need to go. All the Bachelor people who meet her, they're like, you need to go on the show.
Yeah.
But I know she'll be a villain because she is a funny, charismatic, strong energy, and she's not afraid to say anything. And so everyone at first was like, go on The Bachelor, and then they're like, actually, don't do it because you will be a villain, and it's not worth it now because the Instagram
Yeah.
followers are just so minimal. She
Yeah.
also doesn't have an Instagram, so that would be an interesting.
Interesting.
And she's like, I don't think I'd get one even if I went on the show,
Mistake.
Then why go on the show?
just for life experience.
Okay. Interesting.
I mean, we have been waiting for someone to do this on Bachelor and be like, I'm for the right reasons
100%.
because I don't have an Instagram.
Yeah.
We haven't seen it
I've
yet.
definitely told a few players that I've coached, like, here's an experimental strategy, take it or leave it. Delete your Instagram now. Delete it as soon as you know you're going to get on the show. And then, depending on how far you get in the show, the week basically before you get kicked off, launch your Instagram during the watch back.
I think it's smart.
So far, nobody's taken me up on it.
Well, maybe my friend will if she decides to go
All right.
against
Yeah,
the
let me know.
advice and
Tell
go
her
on
to
the
DM
show.
me on her non-existent
Oh,
Instagram account.
Trust me.
She'll set up an
Contact.
email.
She'll be in contact.
Tell her to send me a pigeon.
Exactly.
But yeah, Zach had his moments 1000%. I wanted Nick and Vanessa to ask Micah more about her friends. I want them to go more into that. But, you know, Zach was there to protect Paul. But I will say this, these two, apparently Paul and Micah tried to start dating. They mentioned that on the episode. They tried to start dating in real life. Paul said it was a short-lived thing. Micah then on Nick Vial's podcast was saying they've been going back and forth. And just a few days ago, Micah posted a reel of her and Paul from when they were together, kissing, making out, all these things. And she was like, oh, the memories of the good things you didn't see. And then Paul commented on it and said, whether we're together or whether we're not together, you know, I'll always love you, da-da-da-da. So people are guessing that these two might be an on-again, off-again romance
Or
situation.
maybe they're building up something for Perfect Match. Wouldn't you like to see both of them on Perfect Match together?
Yes.
I'm just
Yes,
saying.
I would.
Because I was
Yes.
shocked by, you know, a year later, she's immediately crying when they brought up just the engagement and everything. You know, and everybody, I mean, this is a year. A year is a long time. Dated other people, lived your life. And then to like be that triggered to cry that quickly when they said like, how are you handling this? Or if you would have gone first, would you, you know, I was just like, dang, like she was crying hard.
I had an opposite reaction to the tears.
You thought they were fake?
And like Irina started crying immediately, and I was like, good for you, girls. Get those tears in there.
I didn't buy the
Get
Irina
that
ones, but
sympathy.
yeah.
I know there
Interesting.
was some laughter I heard when Irina
I know
was
that
like,
was
give me a
brutal.
second.
That was
Yeah.
brutal.
No. I mean, I think that's value. That shows you the gullibleness of me, possibly. You know,
You're going into that show, one of two things. Like I said, you want to be the Brett and Tiffany or biggest victim. Tier play always gives you great victimization edit.
Well, the other note is apparently Vanessa Lachey sent roses and an apology to Paul the day after the show aired, saying that she's sorry for the bias because he had gone on an interview and he was like, it felt very biased to me. And she sent him flowers.
Yeah, I read that too. And I was just like, she sent him flowers?
I was like, well.
Was that Netflix? Was that Kinetic? Was that a PR person? Was that her agent?
And didn't he post something that said like, thank you for the flowers and acknowledging your bias, basically? It was like a kind of a shady, like
nice
Instagram post.
Yeah,
He's
he
like,
threw that
thank you for acknowledging your bias.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Picture the flowers.
Yeah,
It
thank
was
you
like-
very much for these flowers that 100% acknowledge you are in the wrong and the worst person we have ever seen host the show. You no longer want to host it and should be replaced by, who are they talking about now?
Lauren and Cameron, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen.
I love it.
I mean, I would love it. I would live for it. But
But they have to be in it. Like the Lachey's have to have a contract at this point. I would imagine once season 4 came out, if they weren't already in a multiple year contract, season 4 was exploding. Like it was so big before the reunion. I'm sure they would have locked them into a multiple season contract after that. So to get them out, if they want Lauren Speed and Cameron Hamilton to host whatever's going to be Love is Blind season 5, which I think may have already been shot.
It's already
They probably put an option. They don't know what's going to
next
happen. They could have been
few-
canceled for something.
the next few seasons have already been filmed.
Okay.
So
Nick and Vanessa are already in it.
Yes. Now, I mean, they could edit them out and not have them included, or they could just not have them for the reunions.
They were on the show for like 3 minutes the entire time. They were in there for like first episode going, hey guys, and then the last episode, it's like
they just
like,
reshoot
you could
that.
literally get
they
rid
might.
of them without
I mean,
even trying.
I believe a statement was made that the Lachey's aren't going anywhere. I believe Netflix released or Love is Blind released a statement and they're like, sorry guys, they're not leaving.
Plus, it's like, do you really want to see anyone else other than Vanessa Lachey have to stand front and center in another fucking live reunion? Are you kidding me?
What I'll be interested is this next season is to see if Vanessa comes in with like a fuck you vibe or a hey everyone, so how do you feel about if it's like a I'm trying to rein it back in or if she's
Well,
going to go just as hard.
I got the energy that she already kind of came in with a fuck you vibe because I think she made numerous comments throughout the episode where she was talking about how wild everyone was going on social media. And she's like, you all are crazy and da-da-da-da and kind of rolling her eyes at social media. So I'm sure she wasn't enjoying probably some of the memes and things made of the Lachey's and people being like, why are they hosting this? Why are they there? So I already felt like she came in with an energy where she's like, fuck all of you. And so I feel like it's just going to get ramped up.
I agree. This is the move for Vanessa Lachey right now. I mean, you're saying it's already shot, whatever. Whenever she gets to shoot something new, it's head to toe, black on black, everything. You look like a Disney fucking villain. I want to see black wings coming out of the back.
Corella.
Anytime Nick Lachey says anything, silence!
Disagree.
This is my kingdom.
I think she goes dressed full baby outfit. She goes, you're not going to give me a fucking Love is Blind baby. I'm going to be the baby.
Oh, she's in a diaper and stuff. That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
I'm the baby now.
How bizarre.
Who's the baby now?
I think
like
these
that.
are both great ideas.
Yeah, I do too. Vanessa, they're yours.
Yeah, take them
Wow.
if you wish.
I think full kind of like Maleficent evil queen type shit. That's like, this isn't going to be fun anymore. Now I'm doing what I want. I love that.
Nick Lachey had a dog collar.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But with the like the zzz,
Yeah.
and he's like, you know, I've zzz,
Every time he does one of his weird laughs.
yeah.
He's like,
I'm speaking.
He's
like,
on
you
a
guys-
couch. She's sleeping on a couch. He's laying on a couch in the covers.
I'm like, he did reference that he
Wow,
sleeps on the
he's-
couch a lot. He
Yeah.
did reference that in marriage he
Yeah.
sleeps on the couch a lot.
There's
right.
only one chair. He's just curled up in a ball by her feet, and she's
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Like, yes.
Just scratching his
petting
head.
him.
Just scratching his head.
oh my god.
Well, another thing that people were very upset about with the Lachey's was then we move into the Jackie and Josh, like we had said, the pre-recorded Zoom call. Now, I do remember hearing Dave Neal, bless him. I got all my tea from him throughout the past few days when I was trying to catch up because I was so behind. But he was saying that he believes that he thinks that Netflix didn't want Jackie and Josh on and wanted to do the pre-recorded Zoom because he does not think that they were prepared to have a live conversation about the text messages between Jackie and her friends and then the derogatory, the transphobic slur that she claimed that Marshall used. So he was saying that he doesn't think that they were prepared to want to go into that with a live reunion. And what I think, just by the way, taking away from all of this, is I heard Justine and Natasha on Two Black Girls, One Rose, subscribe to their Patreon, they're fantastic, talking about the bottom line with this conversation and then in Netflix's direction. And same thing with The Bachelor too, but specifically with this conversation, it was like, you have two people up there who are clearly like, we need individuals there who are educators. These people did not have the language to talk about what the bottom line was with this, which is that we're using homophobic and transphobic talk to like insult people, and where like the issue with that and protecting the queer community, especially when then they're plugging at the very end that Netflix's new show with Vanessa and Nick is going to be queer dating, the ultimatum. So you need to have an educator on here talking about that. Here we have these two people, and regardless of, you know, there's a lot of he said, she said going on and who said what, and we don't necessarily know because we don't know the behind the scenes. But the issue is that they say they were joking around, but you're still using these derogatory and like homophobic slurs as a way to joke, and where that's where the problem lies, and the conversation needs to be had if we're then going to also have a queer dating show and make people feel safe in that situation. Because Vanessa, even when then she sat down with Marshall and brought up he was like, well, what about the text that Jackie sent? And she was like, I don't want to say those because I don't want to say the wrong thing. Yeah. It's like, okay, we need someone on here who's an educator who can have this conversation.
Yeah. I don't even know if it was that. I mean, I agree with everything you're saying about that, but I don't think Netflix gave a fuck. If you look at like what Bachelor did, remember Eric Schwer? Photo surfaces of him in blackface, they ignored, did not happen, do not talk about. I think Netflix is doing the same thing there. I think
but then they brought up Greer Blitzer, and then they brought in the racism expert.
Sure, but that was because they were forced to by what we call the fourth audience, the people watching the show. There was such an outrage. And Michelle Young, being like, fuck it, I'm done with this franchise. But I don't, like, Netflix doesn't want to address those things for sure, or kinetic content. I think more they were scared about Jackie specifically contradicting the edit and revealing producer practices, because she had already done it on Instagram. She had already put out a post saying, look, I didn't not go to the fucking dress fitting to be with Josh.
She was
we were already broken
all
up.
The receipts
exactly.
On Instagram.
And I think they were like, we can't have her sitting on a live fucking stage able to say anything because we can't control that. I think it was specifically to control the narrative that they were trying to promote in the season. All the slurs that they used, I think that was for Netflix, like afterthought, like maybe an added benefit that we don't have to deal with that either, you know?
Yeah. I mean, within the whole conversation with the Zoom, because it's pre-recorded, you're a little bit like, who knows what was cut out, what was left in. But yeah, Jackie, her big thing in that conversation was that she went on the date after everything. And here we go. Love is Blind situated the order in a way that made it look like she was a quote unquote cheater. I know as an audience member, I wasn't even thinking about that when I was watching it. I was like, I have a problem with the conversation, the breakup afterwards. I wasn't even thinking about that there had been because I'm like, here we are in the Love is Blind context where people are getting engaged in days. So someone then jumping into a relationship 24 hours later, I hadn't even really thought about it. Sure. It was just more the way in which she broke up with him that I was like, no. And the behavior then, leading up to that.
I'm also really curious about the implication there. If that is the correct timeline, then you're basically saying that Brett is just acting when he talks to Marshall and says Jackie's not showing up.
I think what she was saying is the wedding dress fitting happened right before, and then she broke up with Marshall, and then she went on the date. So she didn't show up to the wedding dress fitting, but then she broke up with Marshall after that. I think that's what the order was. But there were so many like text messages and receipts put out there that I got a little, I'm sure I'm messing it up somewhat.
No, it's overwhelming. And I mean, that's another thing too that is happening. I think like the culture of Love is Blind with the players putting out receipts and contradicting the edits like immediately as soon as they air. People are like, no, fuck it. That's not how it happened. Look, I was here. I was doing this. And again, I don't think they're getting any kind of response legally from Kinetic or Netflix. They're not getting these cease and desists. They're certainly not getting sued. I think that would be in news at this point. Bachelor players don't do this. They're starting to. It's starting to like creep out, and you see some collectivized plays, like in season 25, all the players of that season putting out the thing when Chris Harrison, said what he said in the interview with Rachel Lindsay. But I think what Love is Blind, what these players are really doing is starting to like loosen the parameters of what players on any of these shows can do, because Bachelor players have to be looking at this and being like, fuck, these Bachelor producers fucked me over in an edit. They franken bit me saying this shit. They set up this fucking thing. These guys are talking about it. Fuck it, I'm going to do it. I think you're going to start seeing a tidal wave of players coming out of all these shows now, just openly contradicting the edits and throwing the producers under the bus. Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
Well, Marshall was not happy. Marshall was not happy with Vanessa when she was asking the questions. And he was like, you've put me in this situation where now there's all these points and this person isn't here in real life for me to actually have a back and forth, which left him, I mean, it just was so unfair in the position that it left him in, where he's trying to recall everything. And then she's like, let me help you remember. And, he's trying to bring up how it was on her end, on Jackie's end as well. But Vanessa is kind of like, yeah, we already know. It was so rough. I don't know if she sent him flowers as well as Paul. We didn't see any flowers on Marshall's end. Yeah. But, he ultimately in the conversation and then afterwards in follow-up interviews, these two, he said that he wanted to have a truce with Jackie and Josh. And he said, I'm happy for them. It's been a year, et cetera, et cetera. And then in other interviews, he said, like, I'm trying to make peace. I'm happy for them. It wasn't for me. He said, I don't think she's toxic. I think there are toxic traits, but et cetera, et cetera. And it looks like these two, after a lot of back and forth, have come to a truce, because she posted on her Instagram and said that she apologizes for her actions to Marshall and that they have both spoken. So I don't know if we're going to be hearing from them. We'll see if there's a breakup on Jackie and Josh's end eventually, and if a perfect match happens with them as well.
I would love to see that. You know what Marshall should have done in that moment when Vanessa Lachey was like, okay, Marshall, what do you think of all the things that she just said in the Zoom? And he's like, well, I'd really like to be able to talk to her in person. He should have gone like, well, Vanessa, it's funny you asked that, because you know as well as I know, the producers have already promised that me and Jackie are going to have our own hour-long special airing right here on Netflix next Friday night. So I'll wait to say what I have to say until then.
Seriously.
Put it into the feed.
I mean,
now what?
That's so smart. Genuinely, that reunion left open a space for all of the contestants to go on so many podcasts and interviews, because everyone was left with so many questions. Like,
absolutely.
Can someone answer these? I mean, Netflix really, they left that gate wide open for... Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the players are contractually obligated or prohibited from saying, or what type of speech they can and can't use in these live shows, but I think any of them could have basically painted the producers into a corner where they've got to produce another episode with them, or anything else. Just say, like, the producers told me I was going to be coming back to do this. Match. Yeah, and I can't wait to see you on Perfect Match next season. Yeah. Producers, thanks so much. It's going to be a great season. Tune in. I'm definitely going to be there day one, going hard. Yeah.
Then I'll be in the first group. Yep. The first sand.
Up to you, producers. Now what?
Perfect Match.
You put me on this live show and try to fuck me over? Fuck you. That's exactly what he should have done, in my opinion.
I saw a video of Jackie, and she was hanging out with Irina, and I was like, villain dynamic duo for me.
Yeah. Oh my. Now the question is, will someone like an Irina be willing to go on a perfect match after?
Yes. I mean,
I think she definitely seems like she would be down.
I'm just thinking, she seems like she'd be down to me. I'm just thinking myself, I'm like, if I was a villain on a show, I would not ever go on anything else. Now, I know there's a chance that I could be redeemed, but also there's a chance that it could get so much worse.
She's sitting at, I believe, 60 point something K on Instagram. She can get that into...
she's almost at 100, isn't she?
I'm going to look right now. But she can easily get that over a couple 100K and be making influencer money if she goes on Perfect Match, in my opinion.
And maybe find love.
Yeah, maybe.
Seriously, but then how do you become an influencer if no one likes you?
I'm like, but what?
It's just so numbers. She's 99.2 right now.
Oh, she's close.
Very close.
She's close.
Cusp.
I couldn't do it, but we'll see. We'll see if she's on our screens for Perfect Match.
Let's see if she's got nerves like Chad. You know what I mean?
There's just no
you have to be
downside
built
to
a
it.
You gotta be
certain
built a
way to be
different-
able to handle that much criticism.
As much as I disagree with what Nick Viall said about virtually everything over the entire course of his podcast, but specifically about what he's talking about with reality TV performers being like, woe is me, and he believes that's why like the UCAN Foundation was started. I disagree with all of that. The one thing I do agree with what he said is it is kind of what you're going into. And if you're going into reality TV for finding love, fine, that can be part of it. But you have to also be aware, like, there is a massive business opportunity in this to come out of it and use that platform to make money. If you're not wanting to do that, I guess you can go into it for the experience or to have fun or whatever. But that's there. That's a piece of it. And to ignore that, I think, is a mistake, especially for somebody like Irina, who can turn what was otherwise like kind of a bad experience, it seemed like, on Love is Blind. You can potentially turn that around by going on Perfect Match, boosting your numbers, and now you've got a little bit of a career out of it. And maybe you launch a podcast or a YouTube channel or whatever else in the meantime. I just see, like, especially in the kinetic shows, the benefit of Perfect Match is going to be unparalleled across all of reality television. Like Bachelor in Paradise is at this point a very pale imitation of Perfect Match, which is strange because Perfect Match is spawned out of Paradise.
Right. And I'm interested to see, too, what Bachelor in Paradise does to try to up their game. I know there's a lot of rumors swirling around about numerous bachelorettes potentially joining Bachelor in Paradise this coming season, which I definitely think would boost those numbers.
I will simply say this about the upcoming season of Bachelor in Paradise. It's going to be very good. I think there's going to be some high level play that you're going to be seeing this season.
I'll say this about the next
masters
season
of
of
work.
VIP. Yes.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Find the mole.
But I love that. Up the budget, pay the former crowns to all be on sand, make it, spice it up. They got to do something.
They've gotta do
because they're
something.
getting left in the dust.
The pale thing, the pale comparison of Love Island that they try to do with the split week or
Oh,
whatever.
the Casa Amor ripoff.
Split
That was
week.
so brutal. The Casa Amor ripoff.
It was. It's like, hey, we're building all these relationships. Grind it to a halt. Make them all sad. I want to see shots of everybody sitting around crying. Nothing else.
It was so
fuck?
treacherous. And Casa Amor every season for Love Island is so epic.
It's the best part of Love
I want to
Island.
fast forward. If I'm watching a delayed season, I want to fast forward to that episode where they enter Casa Amor.
yeah.
And then with Bachelor in Paradise, they just absolutely made a mockery of Casa Amor.
Why do you think that they didn't do it as well as Casa Amor?
It's the control. I'm
Yeah,
telling
it must
you.
be.
You have not seen Love Island.
I've seen a little bit.
Have you seen Casa Amor?
I think so. I watched Love Island USA season 1, I believe. It was in that, right?
It must
Not
be
a good
It must
season.
be the
Sorry.
control piece because everything else was very similar.
Yes. And Casa Amor, like the seed of it, what makes it good is the chaos of it. It's that there is no control. You don't know what the fuck's going to happen. Somebody could be switching relationships. Maybe they're just playing it as a game. Maybe it's real. Maybe they really do want to go with this other person. But it's this like forced chaos on these players. Whereas in Bachelor in Paradise, it's like, okay, here's what's going to happen. We're going to do the split week. They're going to go this way, and we think this is going to happen. But keep Michael Olio and Daniel Maltby out of it because we need to put them up as the shining example. So they're even breaking their own rules in it to try and control another situation.
Yeah.
It's just not the Bachelor producers. I think at this point, this is my own 2 cents on what I'm seeing on screen. They don't understand how to actually make this show anymore. They believe it's about controlling everything to the finest detail, and especially on Paradise, writing sketches about Sally's suitcase and shit, and having Wells Adams in wigs. Like, that's not funny, and we don't give a fuck.
We don't care.
What are you doing?
They broke their rules in another way, which is that they were like, okay, the leftover guys who didn't rematch have to leave, but the leftover girls, they just let them stay in. I think part of the problem was that people weren't open enough at that point, so we only saw like Shanae going on a bunch of dates.
Right.
That's true.
And none of those ring true either.
Yeah.
You know that they're just like fucking around to
No.
stay on TV.
The timing of it was not good. Like everyone was too solid.
Yeah.
And then by the
I
time
like
you
to
had
see
the
some shakeups in Casa Amor.
by the time you had Rodney Matthews leaving Sand, and it resulted in a literal group psychological break where everyone is just
Everyone
sobbing.
lost it.
That's what the show is now.
Yeah.
You drive these people to the point of basically a breakdown to such a degree that they all literally do it. And that's a whole episode. You're just watching everybody in the show fucking sobbing. That's not fun for an audience to fucking watch. We want escapism. I want to see people having fun on a beach that I can't go to, doing things that I'll never be able to do because I'm just a regular person sitting at home in my house. Instead, I'm watching people get tortured to the point of nervous breakdowns.
Yes.
That's not a very
also,
fun show.
Love Island, what they do is almost every single night they throw them a party. They
Play
give
the game.
them, they do the
Truth or
games.
Dare type
They make them do the Truth or
games.
Dare games. They make them do the lie detector test games, like the heart rate games.
They send them a little fake newspaper of what's happening at the other house sometimes so that they're like, my partner's cheating. I'm going to cheat.
It keeps everything spicy and the games keep it fun. It's moving.
Yeah.
Oh, God, so much.
There's
much
no fun in
untapped.
Bachelor Nation anymore.
No.
They've just turned it into like, really, it's about sorrow. That's what that show is. And it becomes very hard to, for an audience to have fun or to even want to identify with these people. I mean, like the leads traditionally in these shows are like heroes to us. They represent either the perfect version of a man or a woman, somebody that we'd want to date or somebody we want to be.
Yep, the most eligible man or woman in the country.
Yeah. And now these leads are notoriously treated like shit. They are made to do things they don't want to do. You have Clayton Echard coming out of that show talking about all the mental health issues that he's had as a result of it. It's not a fun thing to be. So it's not a fun thing for us to watch as an audience and want to be. We don't want to be in that situation. It looks like fucking horrible. It looks like hell on earth. They literally call it the rose ceremony from hell. How am I supposed to watch that and want to be anybody involved in it? You know, there's no way to identify with their characters anymore.
Yeah.
And they got to get that back on track. And I think Love is Blind actually does a great job of exactly the opposite. We all want to be fucking Tiffany and Brett. Everybody wants to be in that fucking relationship.
I want to be them.
And you get to laugh at Arena and whoever else doing their wacky shit. You get to laugh at Zach when his leg's hanging off the boat and doing the fucking proposal.
We get to laugh when at the very end they show us all the behind the scenes of what it's like in their homes, which by the way, Chelsea and Kwame, what a pad. Holy smokes.
Oh my
so
God.
chic, so fancy. And then Brett with that shoe wall. But then we get to giggle along with Zach and wonder if he's playing a joke on us when he decides to do another serenade. Looking deeply into Bliss's eyes, and I go, is this supposed to be a funny moment where we're laughing? He's laughing at himself,
But
or
I
is
like-
this serious?
Just a caveat, little moment was that he did a country song and he sang in a country accent,
He went full
which he broke
stagecoach.
all the rules of like. He just changed his accent.
Yeah.
Like if like at least the first time he was just kind of like,
That's a rule.
you know, there's a Blarney Stone or whatever, and all of a sudden he's just like, come on down. And you're like, you can't do that. You can't just have a country accent.
I like that he takes
Zach
big
did it.
swings.
He takes massive swings.
He did a
Massive
big
swings.
swing parasocially too, where he grew out a giant beard. So
Yeah.
I assumed he was alone.
Everyone thought it was the single beard.
It's a good trick.
He got
Facial
us.
hair play. He learned from the best. Deanie Babies when he shaved his mustache for Caitlyn to leave the beach with her.
I'm
good-
just
facial
getting
hair is a good play.
getting the vibe from him that he is not playing any games. Like he is just like. He's just a
Listen.
unique character, and
Listen,
he's just
guys.
like
The
anyone who
swords
sings
on
like
the
that,
wall,
they're dead serious and
the
he can keep it.
owls.
Listen, everyone, I'm telling you right now, I believe everything Zach says. I loved his.
I really believe
loved
him.
his receipts. I absolutely love them. I believe in Tiffany and Brett's love so deeply. I believe in Zach's and Bliss's love so deeply. I hope and pray that Kwame and Chelsea continue their love story.
Yeah.
You know, I was curious and head scratchy about it, but God bless. Paul and Micah are question marks to me.
Yep.
In their screen time situation. Irina, I feel fairly confident about.
I did like when they did ask Paul, like, doesn't Micah look like your mom? Isn't she like your mom? And he's like, physically. I was
He's like, that's about the only thing they're similar with.
Oh my gosh. And
Because
he
his
came
whole
in-
beef was like, you're not nurturing or whatever. And then he's clearly was saying, like, my mom's very nurturing.
Yeah.
That's the only thing they look
He's like, I
She's
think
still
my mom is
breastfeeding.
hot. Don't get me wrong. But you're nothing like her on the inside. That's what I'm really in love with about my mother. Something like that. And by the
Something
way,
in that world.
like I don't have any type of negative feeling about Zach for doing his country accent. I myself have done this do you remember I wrote a chorus for a Bachelor theme song called For the Right Reasons, and I would sing that in a country accent.
Well, it is a
I
tad
love
different.
accent work
You know what I
in
mean?
general.
Trying to
I am from
swoon
Texas.
your lover with it, though. You know what I mean? It's a little different. I just appreciate how hard he goes and how he doesn't even crack a
swoon
smile.
Your lover, serenade.
I go, come on down here, girl.
He swoons me by not serenading to me.
Yeah,
Anti-serenade.
I
I'm
say
an
I would never do
anti-serenade.
that to you. And it's
I
just
would
like,
never
love you.
He just affirms every day. I wake up every moment. He goes, just FYI, I would never serenade you. And I'm like, I have never been more attracted to anyone in my whole life.
I told Jake I only want to be serenaded like Heath Ledger in 10 Things I Hate About You. It has to be to that song. And
Okay, well, it's also a very different energy. It's a very different energy, you know? So long as you're not looking deeply in my eyes the entire time, we can make it work. But Zach held that long-ass eye contact, and he did his country accent, and he ended and he rapped. He started this with a serenade, and he ended it with a serenade because he knows how to bookmark a goddamn show.
You think he's going to put out an album?
I sure hope
really
so.
hope so.
I would
too.
purchase it.
I couldn't listen to it, but
I mean, a
hope he
man
does.
of many gifts, lawyer, singer, serenader, social media influencer.
Okay. What did you think about his intro joke line to the women saying that he was a stripper and it was a trick to see if they hated strippers?
I hated it at first and I was panicking watching it. I put the covers over my face and I was like hyperventilating because I was so awkward. And then he got me and I fell in love.
Wow.
I couldn't help it. He
out.
locked me in.
But it's like a litmus test for him because of his mom.
Yeah, that's what I
That's
figured
what I mean,
out.
but it was a trick.
I don't think it was a smart choice. I don't think it
one
was
of the
a
girls went,
wise
"Ew."
choice.
Yeah.
Like,
But
what if
it
he
was
a stripper?
but it was his way of testing to see.
Yeah.
'Cause eventually he's
like
gonna
the
have to
one thing
say
that
my
like
mom was a
something
stripper.
your
Yeah.
joke is like the one thing I really care about or something. Like I don't know.
That's all I'm saying.
I don't
Zach.
either.
Well, congratulations to all the happy couples.
Wow.
And
Yes.
and you know,
Thank you for this season.
and
What a
as
season.
you were saying, Chad, to their growing Instagram followers that they're amassing, I hope and pray for them that they are able to make amazing influencer deals
Me
and
too.
bring in that cash.
Absolutely.
After the trauma that was endured and that we gained from our viewing pleasure, we thank you all.
Yes, we thank you for your
Seriously.
suffering.
we
It
savored
was
your
savored.
suffering.
Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you
We
for
so
having
appreciated Game of
us.
Roses
I love you.
on all the podcast platforms and also the Patreon. If
We
you
got
want to go back and watch
Patreon.
all the Love is Blind,
Yeah, you can do it with me.
fantastic.
Bachelor Clues.
Yes.
And sometimes me.
And
Yep.
sometimes
At
a drop in
Pace
from
Case.
Pace Case. It is absolutely fantastic. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you
Thank you.
guys.
And thank you so much
Oh,
to
legends.
Bachelor Clues and Pace Case for joining us on that journey. We just love them so much. They're so fantastic. So we did it. We did
did
the
it.
Love is Blind.
It's insane.
We did the Love is Blind journey. And I minus the reunion, which I enjoyed complaining about, minus the reunion, what a fantastic season.
Such a good season. So many ups and downs. What I really liked about it was just that, like, you started with a strong opinion about people and ended completely in a different category and
Yeah.
different feeling. And I think that's the sign of a good show.
Yeah, they
That,
really
they
took
don't
you
give
on a journey.
You don't have everything up front.
Yeah.
You didn't see certain things coming. And I mean, that's the sign of a good show. It's also crazy to think this is our 20th episode.
I know.
And we've been since your mom and dad started. And we've done 2 seasons of shows.
It's pretty exciting.
It's kind of wild.
Pretty
Yeah.
exciting.
Like, I felt like we just started this like a week ago. It's kind of insane.
Thank you so much to the family for joining us in this
Seriously.
journey and for being patient with us as we were behind on this one. You know, I think
Yes.
probably next time
We'll be. Yeah.
it ended up being kind of a thing because Zach's season was still ending when
Yes.
Love is Blind started. We didn't want to not end that. It was a whole thing. But now we're like, you know what? Next time Love is Blind comes around, we're going to be on
We'll
top
be
of
on
it.
it. We
We're
promise.
gonna be on top
We
of
promise.
it. But we
Speaking
still
of the
had-
family,
Yes, speaking of the
it
family.
would not be an episode if we didn't, hear from our family and
call home, of
do
course.
a call home.
But before we do
Oh,
call
sorry.
home, I do have to announce to the family what our journey is going to be looking like for the next few weeks.
Yes,
I think
yes.
it's very important. So next week we are going to have some guests that I'm very excited about to catch up with. You shall see. You shall find out. But then after next week, we have a few weeks until we dive into charity season, which I am
Yes.
so excited about. So I'm like, what are we going to do in these upcoming few weeks? What do we want to talk about? And I put a question poll out on our Instagram, and a vast majority of people said, y'all better fucking talk about Vanderpump Rules. So we are going to
Apparently, there's been some drama there.
Apparently there's been a little bit of drama.
I've
I sure don't
heard
know.
that there's some sort of like issue going on with them or something. I don't know.
So listen, here's the thing. Obviously, the season of Vanderpump is coming to an end.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is this. Not next week, but the following week, we are going to go over kind of all the drama. We're going to recap all the drama that's been happening, everything off screen, catch everybody up. If you haven't seen the show before ever or watched the season, it'll be a great recap.
Right.
And also, if you have a place to like still find out all the current tea that's going on. But then after that, we will be recapping the remainder episodes, which are basically going to be like the finale and the reunions, which are the best part because this finale, these last few episodes are coming in with current drama.
Right.
And then all of the podcasts that are going to be happening with these different people in the upcoming weeks are going to be wild. And
So what you're saying is we're going to be up on it.
We're going to be up on it.
Guys, we're starting Vanderpump season 1, and in 2 years we'll get to the drama that's happening now. Strap in.
Exactly.
No, we're going to be up on it, guys.
We're going to be up on it. We're going to be up on it. And if you're all panicky, like you haven't watched all of them, that's so then we'll have an episode where we're kind of catching up a little
Yes.
bit and making sure that we're updated with all the current tea and what our thoughts are up until what's currently happening. So
I'm excited.
Stay tuned. But next week we have some guests I'm very excited about.
It'll be a fun week.
I can't wait. And then we have charity season. Oh my
Yes.
God. Ugh, I'm excited.
Yes, it's going to be
good.
awesome. It's going to, it's like getting back home.
Yeah, I know.
You know, when that Bachelor season comes around and the Bachelorette franchise comes around, it's like
It's
the
cozy.
old jacket you put on and you're like, this thing always fits
It's
perfect.
a warm
you know,
blanket.
I'm excited.
It's a warm blanket. All right, now let's do some call
All
home.
right, let's do it.
Remember, you can always call home.
Hi, Jess and Evan. I just want to say thank you both for being iconic. And just some context to my situation. I was born and raised in an evangelical environment in a Pentecostal church. I'm an only child, and I was raised by a single mother. And she is very much a product of that environment. She's been in it her entire life. Has some generational trauma to work through that just hasn't been. And 2.5 years ago, my husband and I bought our first home. And at the same time, she had just relocated to our state. And we generously offered a couple of rooms in our house for her to get back up on her feet,
very
kind of heal, take care of some things. Needless to say, none of that happened. She thought she was moving into quote unquote bless us, when really it did quite the opposite. A lot of things just went wrong over the years, and we finally decided 5 months ago we needed to ask her to move out and set some boundaries, and that's really hard for me to do with her. She has a really bad victim complex. She's had it my entire life. And my husband and I gave her 5 months notice to move out. And sure enough, our biggest fear, she waited until the very last week to do anything about it. And now her and my husband don't even talk. Things have just gotten progressively worse. So any suggestions on how to move past this once she's out and heal from it is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Oh man.
First of all, I love the to bless. Like, that's the classic. There's nothing worse when two people are on different pages. When someone says, I'm doing you a favor, and the other person goes, no, I'm doing you a favor. That's like worst case scenario. And then you add on top of it, it's family. Oh my
man.
gosh.
It's the 1-2 punch.
Did she say that they had kids or no?
I don't think so.
Okay, so yeah, that's also another thing, right? Is like when you have mother-in-law or mother living with you and you don't have children, to be like, oh yeah, maybe we can kind of work on a deal here where you give me date nights, I give you rent, kind
we
of
can
thing.
do a little swap
but if
situation.
it's just like, just living with you, that is tough. And then you like attach to it like it's my own mom, or it's my person's mother and their mother, so it's my mother-in-law. Like, it's complicated.
Right. I know. And like she was saying, it's really hard for her. I mean, because
Sure.
it's her mom,
Right.
of course. Oh man, I'm so sorry. This type of family stuff is tough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Want me to throw out, or do
Sure.
you already have one?
No, I was just going to say my knee-jerk reaction.
Okay, go.
I mean, it's not, this is not any sort of incredible answer, I don't feel like, but my knee-jerk reaction is that it's going to be okay. Like, I do believe that it's a sensitive, open wound right now. Everyone's frustrated with each other because you guys are frustrated with her being like, we gave you this gift and we were being super generous. And then, you took advantage of it and you didn't leave and now you're giving a shit about it. And that is really hard. And then your mom is feeling sensitive because she's probably feeling like they didn't want me here. And I thought I was giving them a gift. I mean, everyone's sensitive right now, and the wound is very fresh and it's open. I think that this will heal in time, and I think it will heal probably quicker than you might think it will. I know that you said your mom has a victim complex, so I know that then makes things, especially being the child, more complicated because you might feel like your mom is always kind of hanging it over your head and making you feel...
Well, then it gives you a guilt complex.
Exactly. I feel you. I see you. So you have this guilt complex all the time. I would do your very best to know that you absolutely did not do anything wrong in this situation. You wanted to help your mom out, and then eventually you set up boundaries that needed to be set up, and you're a great kid. You're an amazing child to your mother. So know that. And prepare yourself for probably some passive aggressive messages and texts, and do everything you can to prepare yourself for that, knowing that those are coming from a place of hurt, not where she's trying to be hurtful to you. Obviously, you need to protect yourself. And if you feel like, I need to put up a boundary for a while and like communication, I'm not ready for it, it's too much, I think it's absolutely valid to take a step away and do whatever you need to do to protect yourself. But if you're wanting to continue to have a relationship with your mother, like I said, I think that it's good to give it a minute, let it simmer, give everyone time so the wound isn't quite as open. And your mom will probably move on to something else that she's processing through and will move on from this. And then you can all kind of gradually, have those conversations that it's too sensitive to have right now. Yeah. The other thing I would say too, just a side note, as someone who has definitely not been in this exact situation, but in certain similar situations, I would say, know that your husband, there's going to be frustration there, especially because it's not his parent. So it's not quite as there's not that connection of like, oh, this is my mom. So he's going to be frustrated, I'm sure. And if he is very wary of like a future relationship, that I know it might be hard, but to like be patient with him because it's not his parent, and that's a lot to process.
Yeah. I think that's all great.
Yeah.
I think that's really good advice when it comes to the dynamic of it. Yeah. I'm going to be old dad here. Uh-oh. And no. And just more and go and talk about the practical side of this. Okay. I think that how you said, oh yeah, she had 5 months to do it, didn't do anything. She's obviously dragging her feet. She obviously doesn't want to leave. There's going to be all sorts of, you're kicking me out. You don't love me, like you were bringing up. In these moments, I'm usually a big fan of focusing on the practicals, and then it'll kind of like relieve the emotion of it. So don't even make this about mom. In my opinion, try not to make this about mom, you're overstaying your welcome, mom, you're using us, or don't let it get to the point where then she's saying you don't even want me. Don't even deal with that. Focus on help yourself. So if I were you, I'd go, Mom, here's a list of 5 apartments I found. These are great. They're right in your budget. Help her to help herself to help you, basically, in this way. Yeah. So if you're just going to wait for her to do it, I think you're going to have a lot of problems. If she's already dragging her feet for 5 months, and this obviously is advice if she's still there. I think she's still there. If she is still there.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure. Okay.
If she is still there, make it really practical. Just like give her a list of places you found that are right in the budget. Help her move. Like just make it really like practical. Here's how I already got this set up for you, blah, 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 blah. And then deal once she's out with all the emotional side of things. But it's going to be really hard for you to deal with the emotional side of things while trying to move her out. So just keep it practical. That would be my advice, is like, help yourself help her, because it's going to be tough if you don't.
Yeah.
You just got to know you might have to just help her with this one. Even though it's going to be more work for you, at the end, I think you'll just kind of thank yourself for putting that work in.
And she's probably not going to be super grateful. There's probably going to be a lot of comments thrown out that are, again, passive aggressive of like, you're trying to get me out and, all that. But again, just try to remember that that's coming from an internal place of hurt that has nothing to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
I agree.
Keep it simple, especially while she's in the house. I wouldn't try to like work through all the issues while she's still in the house. You're going to need some space before you can actually like, hey, let's schedule a lunch at her apartment, talk about some of these issues if they're still there. But trying to do it in the midst of like, here's another box, and then here's what, that's going to be really raw.
Yeah.
So keep it practical. I think that's my advice until the time's right.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Tough.
Good luck, though, to
good
you.
luck.
Again, I just would encourage you to. I'm sure you're feeling a lot of hurt right now and so much stress, to know that this is likely going to heal over okay. Everyone's raw. It's very sensitive right now. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure that in time, it's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. It's going to be okay.
Yeah. Well, we love you.
We love you. We love you so much. Good luck. We love you all.
Big hug.
Big
Big
hugs.
Love is Blind hug.
Big Love is Blind hug. Tune in next week for some fun guests.
Yes.
And have a great week.
You guys have a blessed week, okay? Have a blessed week.
We love you all so much.
We'll see you next time.
Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.